want to get on a line now? Anybody?
It's mainly just their whole sales are plummeting and busting in 20. Oh, I see what you're saying. They don't have the relevant information to make accurate criticisms about that or make accurate points about that because nobody does. It is so hard to track sales of comic books right now. Probably harder than it's ever been since they've been doing it. Because, you know, for a long time it was just Diamond distributing comics. So you just get information from Diamond. There's so many disparate distribution situations right now. It's like the best thing that can be done is to kind of just ask comic shops. That was another thing me and that guy in emails were talking about. He was really worried about the comic shops. And I'm like, yeah, man, me too. I grew up going to comic shops. It sucks that it's hard to keep them open. But at the same time, a lot of brick and mortar stores in every industry are struggling because that's just kind of where society is going, unfortunately. People don't like as much to go to a physical place and buy things. But the people, this is important to remember, Sandman, the people who are constantly whinging about the state of the industry and, comics are dying or whatever, you have to ask them yourselves, why do they dedicate so much fucking time and energy to convincing everyone that comics suck then? Do they want them to do better? Of course they don't. They're not talking about how well or poorly these things are doing, and generally they're not being accurate or truthful. But they don't talk about that because they're trying to save the industry. Just think about it in that simple terms. It's nonsensical. If I want something to do well, and I'm concerned about the industry, and I'm concerned about the comic shops and the creators, right? And that's what I'm concerned about. Even if I don't like the stuff, I'm gonna still promote that industry and those creators and those shops because that's what I care about, right? And that was a hypothetical because I actually do care about all of those, but I also think generally there's good comics and bad comics, just like there's always been, but actually there's so many more comics and such a broad range of creators that are working on them now that I think it's a great time to be a comics fan. It really is. If you care about the industry, support it. If you care about comic shops, go shop at them. Dedicating your time and your days to just telling everybody how shit it is or whatever, you're not concerned about those things. You're concerned about your narrative. You're concerned about your pushing your agenda. You're an activist.
The engine is starting up. 3, 2, 1.
Dope as fuck.
The other one, No Organized Chaos.
Actual fandom?
I vaguely know who actual fandom is.
clearly don't know who you're talking to, so
Hi. Fucking subscribe.
I am David. Holy shit!
Holy shit. Love this guy. Love him. Fuck. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hello. Yeah. Hey, it's Friday. You're here. I appreciate you. Even if you're fucking here and you're hating. You know what I mean? Especially that, because like you probably have other shit you could be doing. Like people who care about you, maybe that you could be, you know, things you actually enjoy, you know, doing, spending time doing, and you're not doing that. Instead, you're here for me. It's pretty cool. Thank you. Yeah. So please hit the like button and subscribe if you you know, haven't done that already during my long ass intro there. But yeah, it's been a wild week, man. Some crazy shit, just discoursing going on. Let's see who we got. Head Ninja. Byron. Happy birthday, man. The CHUDpocalypse is at hand. It's still ongoing, and it actually plays a little bit into, you know, what's been going on. I actually think that we kind of took a hit. Like the CHUDpocalypse got rolled back a little bit this week, in my opinion. We'll talk about that. Hey, Lucifer, Maestro, Christopher, Fool of a Took. I was all right. I had some crazy tech stuff going on that I'm just still kind of dealing with the fallout from, but yeah, what happened? What happened with this guy? Like, I think maybe there were some signs all along, but you know, that's why we got this guy on today. Ramon Villalobos. How's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty
Doing
good.
all right. Watching the Warriors choke away another game. It's beautiful. It's beautiful Friday afternoon. That's what I love doing.
Yeah. Not heard of any discourse, huh?
Oh, you're reading a super chat thing, or was it just
regular chat? Yeah.
Regular chat. What's up, chat?
Yeah, my channel's actually not monetized right now, so I can't even do any super chats. So you know,
I'm just so used to hearing super chat when I watch videos, you know. But my bad. What's up, regular chat? How's it going?
I mean, in my opinion, they are all super chats. You know, even though
yeah.
You're all super chat. What's up, Ramon? Yeah, if anybody's not familiar with Ramon, he's done some pretty awesome fucking work for Marvel, DC, and then, you know, some of not them too. Yeah. What's your favorite thing you've done, man? Talk about that.
My favorite thing I've done was probably the book I'm working on right now. It's called They're All Terrible for Bad Idea Comics. Like around the pandemic, I had started doing work for Bad Idea, and they've been extremely like sort of gracious with how much time they give me to do this stuff. The only problem is it takes a long time for it to come out now. I want to be better about that, but you know, what I love is that like I do feel like it's some of the best stuff I've ever made, and so like it's the most proud of a comic I've ever been, because I can really just like put as much work as I want into it, and I think me and my colorist collaborator Tamara Bonvillain, like it's, I gave her free reign, and it's like very low stress. So it's like, the Marvel DC grind, it can be like really mind breaking. I think for some people, I'm not going to name names, but I think it could be really mind breaking, and you can get caught up in like, feeling down about yourself or it or whatever, and
I bet.
then working at the schedule that I have is very leisurely. I know that they would rather be faster. I know I would rather be faster, but it's really rewarding to have one project that I consider it like are you familiar with the movie Heaven's Gate?
Yeah.
I consider it like my Heaven's Gate, where it's like Chimino was like, everything that I want to do, I'm going to do here. And, obviously that was the only Heaven's Gate. Like after that, he had to go back to making movies that,
Well, I mean, it's like just a respect for you as a creator in particular, right? Like that has
right. Well, that was the thing, is like at one point they were like, thinking we should like make these deadlines harsher, like, but then my editor, I didn't know, he said at the time, was like, you have all this great stuff that had no time, and you just you added the last issues are oversized, like longer. So they were like, just give him the time that he needs. And I'm almost done with it. I'm on the last like few pages. So then after that, I'm probably going to do a thing. I don't know if it's announced yet, so I can't really talk about it, but it's another bad idea thing. And then I'm going to work on another thing that's definitely not announced. But it's going to be, all I could say is it's probably going to be a Western. And I'm very excited about it, because this whole year I've been watching Westerns nonstop. Like I've watched on Letterboxd, I've logged like 115 Westerns this year.
Damn.
Something like that. So I'm very passionate about the genre, and I did it because I wanted to make a space Western, and now I got this opportunity to do a Western, and I was like, fuck, I want to do it. So I'm very excited about it. Hopefully it happens and I can talk more about it as it comes out. But man, my Discord saying it's subs only chat. Is it just to keep the trolls out? Like
yeah, but if I didn't know you had some people following you over, so I'll open it up, man. Give me 1 second.
They might appreciate it. I'm gonna tell him he opened it up. I told him, if you guys want to go in there and troll me, go ahead. And then they were like, oh, subs only chat, and I was like, oh, my bad. Maybe you'll get some subs.
Hey, I always want those, I mean, yeah, it's normal. I think I've got it set to like 2 or 3 days or something like that, but I recognize that can still be pretty frustrating. So
yeah, well, I mean, I get why you have to keep it protected a little bit, like otherwise it'll get overrun, and it might today. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
I mean, it really is just for my own sake, because sometimes like my impulse control and responding to shitheads isn't the best. So like, right. Just to like keep myself on task, I'll do that. But yeah, let me switch this here.
Well, it's all good. It's all good. If you can't do it right now,
I'm stronger than that. I'm better than it. I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm a big boy. Big boy, my big boy pants on. All right. So is this from that?
No, this is a cover for my buddy Tony Gregori's book Pork Chop. It was a Zoop campaign, and I just did a variant cover for it.
Hadn't heard of that. Looks dope.
Yeah, thanks.
Loving the
the thing is like this kind of stuff, like I really enjoy like taking my time making it look as good as I can, and like it makes me laugh then, because like a lot of these people will say like, oh, they don't really love comics, like people like me, and it's like, I don't think you put that much like time and effort, and like I'm not saying I'm great, like I think I have a very realistic perspective on myself as a person, and I think I know where I need to improve, and I know how I can get better, and I work on it. Like you look at my stuff from a few years ago, and it's like a lot better now than it used to be. But I don't know how fast you want to get into it, but that's why when that guy's video came out and he was talking about his the people that don't love comics like he does, because he's a retailer, and retailers are the ones that really love comics. It's like, well, first, this is not a competition, but second, and I heard you when this video started, you were discussing it a little bit on like the pre-roll or whatever, which is like, if you really loved comics as much as you say you do, comics would be better served if you tried to sell the stuff you do like, rather than put negative energy into discussing all the things that you hate.
Yep.
And that's very true. And I think it's systematic of like a lot of things that's wrong with comics these days.
For sure.
And
I mean,
go ahead.
like that clip was actually from months and months ago. It wasn't even related to that thing. That's I just remembered it. I remembered I had it and I was like, I think that applies now. But like, so first of all, that dude has received some pretty shitty treatment from a few people, you know what I mean? Like
me included, to be fair. Like I
like my first impulse was to bully this guy, and I was like, I probably shouldn't do that. But
here's the thing that gets me, because like I feel bad that I did what I did. I'll be honest with it. Like I feel bad for like a number of reasons. One, like while personally I don't mind like ad hominem attacks, like I don't think it's out of bounds. I think if people wanted to call me fat or whatever, and they did, I don't give a shit. Like, if I'm being honest, like you could say whatever the fuck you want about me. Like I saw it. Some of them I laughed at it. Some of them I was like, whatever, like it's not funny. And I'll just carry on about my day. And like, I get it. But the thing is, some people were sensitive about it, and it wasn't a nice thing to do. It was a mean thing to do. And I was being mean, and that's not nice. So like I apologized. I felt bad about it, right?
What's up with
I didn't
this own it
apologize
up
to him
thing?
because here's the thing. That guy didn't post that video, right? It was
Right.
somebody else that posted the video. So I wasn't even making fun of that guy to his face. It was other people getting mad on behalf of him and then saying mean things to me.
Yeah.
And like, I don't give a shit. Like, again, like the thing that made me laugh the most about it though was like all these people, they were sort of arguing with like a straw man version of me. And it wasn't actually like Ramon Villalobos the person, because like ironically a lot of people think that I'm like this fucking piece of shit Bernie bro toxic guy on like more center left people, and the right thinks I'm this like soy SJW cuck whatever. And so like it's like I'm in a real like no-win situation. Really. Like politically it's like, oh man, I've somehow managed to piss off the left and the right. And
I feel you because look,
Yeah.
we belong to a somewhat exclusive club, man. Me and you, we both are subjects of abounding into comics articles.
I love that. For a long time, the SEO, that was the number one hit for my name, aside from like Wikipedia or whatever. So like my mom one time was searching it and she saw that.
Oh, no.
In group chats that I'm in, when I say something, sometimes my friends will post that like little screen cap. I think it's hilarious.
It is, dude. I was laughing my ass off reading it because it's like, oh yeah, there's the
they're
way
jokes.
the same dude will go out of his way to paint what you're saying, which are clearly jokes, as like just you're some fucking virulent racist, but then like one of their dudes will say something that's just like, holy shit, man, and they're like, oh, they're against free speech. It's just fucking ridiculous.
That's the irony of it, is like I'm like, oh, that guy, I called him a salami breath tog, which is hilarious to say about somebody, and if somebody said it's about me, I'd be like, well, I don't eat salami and my voice doesn't sound like somebody who would, but it's still hilarious to say that to somebody. And then I followed it up instantly, because I was debating, should I call him a salami breath tog or should I say this other thing? And the other thing was, maybe his thing is that he hasn't seen himself represented in comics. And me, Ramon Villalobos, I am fat, ugly, stupid piece of shit. So if I made a comic where I inserted that into the comic, maybe he would see it and he would feel seen for the first time ever. And then he would be like, oh, that's why we should have that's young black characters. Like that would be empowering. So like I said that and people were like, he's trying to cover his tracks. He's trying to say that, suddenly we got to him. And it's like, if you look at it, it's like 2 minutes after the first tweet, I made the second tweet. So, or post or whatever the fuck. Right. So like, to me, it's like, they're just, they're disingenuous. They're bad faith actors.
There's no winning. Like they're literally, it's just, it's all, no fucking standards, man. Like, well, the only standards they have is double standards,
Right. So like, again, I said I regret it for two reasons. One, it was not a nice thing to do. And I'm trying to be a nicer person as I get older. I'm not getting younger. I'm trying to be nicer. trying to be more kind, you know. And number 2 is I gave people content when they didn't have any before. So that's number 2 is like suddenly they have a target. Now I saw like this one dude named like Laszlo something or other. I shouldn't even say his name, right? But he's obsessed with me. He just replies to everything I tweet. And he shared your boy Zach, comics guy, whatever. And he shared a video about him, and I'm like, dude, it's been 5 years, and he like, you know, he remembered me again. Like it felt a little nice, like it felt like you see an old friend, you know, because he used to do that shit all the time. And what was funny about it when he did it then was that before that he used to like my art, and then after he discovered that I was woke because I drew a character that was Mexican, he was like, this guy's woke, he sucks. But I saw like he was a fan of mine before, so I was like, all right.
Why'd you draw that Mexican character then, dude? That's fucked up. You shouldn't have done that. You know?
I wanted to,
like,
you know, like, but you know, there's a lot of people there that like, if we're being honest, either liked my work or didn't think I sucked. And then once they saw me do like America Chavez, they were like, he's maybe the worst artist to ever live, you know? And like I'll share a little bit about myself, right? Because I'm a longtime comic fan. I remember in 2006 or 2005, one of my favorite comic book was Green Lantern, right? And the book that came out that I was like, I need to go to the store day one to get this book was Ethan Van Sciver's Green Lantern Rebirth with Jeff Johns, right? That was literally the only book I bought. And then I think like All-Star Batman and Robin came out, right? Or no, Infinite Crisis around there. But those were the 3, right? And so that was the only reason I went. So I remember I liked his art, you know. I thought Hal Jordan looks a little angry at all times. Like the acting is a little bad. I didn't know that then, but now I see that the acting is not bad, but it looks badass, right? Like things are gnarly in this comic. And then I remember I went to WonderCon in like 5 years later or whatever. And I went to get that book signed by him. And he had a jar on his table that said like, donate money for the NRA raffle, you know? And I was like, oh man, like I'm anti-gun violence. Like I don't like when people shoot up schools or whatever. So like I'm against it. But here's the thing. I didn't say he's a bad person or a bad artist for that. Eventually I did for other reasons. But you know, in that moment, I wasn't like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He's garbage. Fuck him. Like I'll be honest. I was like, that's a shame, but I'll still continue enjoying his work until I sort of got more knowledgeable about it. I'm still big Van Sciver head. I don't know if you noticed. I put up my Grateful Dead Noah Van Sciver comic behind me. He doesn't really talk about it that much. That's a great book. Yeah, I mean, also another Van Sciver rec that I can give is if you go on the DSA website, Eugene Debs, the autobiography. We love Noah Van Sciver. So that's the thing is like
One Dirty Tree, man. That's
you know, and book. I agree with Noah's politics probably more than I do his brother. And now I appreciate Noah's art more than his brother's, to be if I'm being honest.
I mean, it's not even for me. It's not even like the politics is one thing. It's just like
it's not about
the attitude, man. It's the fucking attitude of like
Noah seems like a sweet man.
Dude.
He seems like a chill ass dude. I feel like if I saw him, if I met him, I get along with him. Maybe more than his brother, Ethan Van Sciver. You know, I think sometimes I can get a good Ethan Van Sciver if I say like the SJWs, like, you know, I sometimes work on it, but anyways, my point is I didn't judge
SJWs and I don't know
SJWs.
So just real quick, you guys, you let me know if they're like, because I feel like there's some irony posting going on your behalf. I don't want to.
Probably. What are they saying? What are they saying?
So we got you know, I don't know, do you go to restaurants and slop down their steaks or what?
Lan's vids? The Lan is a troll. Not like, I mean, I like him, but Lan is a troll. I don't eat steaks. I don't eat red meat.
Oh, I see.
I don't know about Noah's allegations. Is he bad? Oh fuck. Are we off on Noah?
Are we doing let's
not you know what? This motherfucker's a troll. Can you ban Lan?
Stay off the Van Sciver shit for now.
Okay. Well, I want to make one point. I want to make one point about Noah and Ethan, which is that, you know, I have a brother who's not politically aligned with me at all, right? But we both love the 49ers. You know, I have my 49ers hat right here. You see my Steph Curry portrait right above it. I keep it up. He's like a saint to me, although could be scoring more right now. But, you know, he's a sainted figure for me. I love the 49ers. I went to a game with my brother, and we sort of have a general rule of like, if we get together, let's try not to talk politics. We will, and we'll argue, and we can still sort of respect one another, you know? And I wonder if Ethan and Noah do that, you know, because they both clearly love comics on some level, but I wonder what their family situation is. And like,
It's
because
weird.
the
Like-
sad thing is, like, comics should be like sports, where like if I meet a 49er fan, there was in fact in the discussion that we had on Twitter, like not me and you, but like me and the chuds, right?
Right.
There was one of the guys that was really upset with me, but I clicked on his profile and I saw it said he was a Niner fan. So I said, "Oh, bro, go Niners," you know? And he said, "Go Niners." And I don't know if he follows me, but then I posted some Niner content. It's my least popular content on my Twitter feed. And he was like, go Niners. Like, Brock should be MVP. And I was like, yeah, dude, he should. Me and this guy, we're probably not going to agree on a lot, right? But there are some things that people can agree on, like a love of comics or a love of the 49ers or whatever team you like that should transcend this kind of shit. And for people that say they want politics out of comics, all they do is base their judgments on other people based on the comics. Like, for instance, when I made a joke about that guy being a salami breath Tog, they thought this guy must be one of these soy liberals who would hate bullying, when in fact, I don't give a shit. Like, I mean, I don't think it's a nice thing to do, but I obviously don't care because I did it, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, I've been known to get a little, I guess, less than ideal with my speech towards people doing this content,
Right.
but like, you know, I think I've gotten better about it. I went through a phase not too long ago whenever, you know, people were saying that I was like threatening to like grape their families and stuff like that. That wasn't, you know, what was happening, but it was pretty funny that they went
That's
that
a
far
wild
with
thing.
it.
Yeah. How old are you, by the way?
Yeah, I'm in my, you know, late 30s.
Okay. I was just curious. I was just curious because I'm like wondering our age, sort of.
I think
like,
you're maybe just a couple years younger than me.
I'm 36, but it's
yeah.
beside the point. I was just curious, like, generally how old you are, just because, you know, like, I don't know about you, but I grew up with, like, you know, South Park and these kind of things, right?
Yep.
So, like, you know, that's the shit I found funny, and I will watch some of those problematic old episodes. I'm like, yeah, this is fucked up, but it does make me laugh, you know? Like, there's stuff like that where, like, I think the thing is that I've grown up a little bit, so like I realize, like, you know, maybe it's fucked up to say that, and it was funny when I was younger, but maybe that stuff's not as funny now. But some people, it's like they feel like it's like a birthright that you should be able to say whatever you want to people, and like, you know, again, this is why I apologize for, you know, if that guy sees this for whatever reason. I know he's a YouTuber, I think, or something. But if he sees this, I do apologize for being mean to him. Like, I shouldn't have done that.
And yeah, same to me. Same for me. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But the disingenuous reaction to it of like, these people are evil, we would never do that, and then they immediately do it, is ironic, at least, you know?
Right.
Whereas like, and what they're mad about me is that I'm being a hypocrite. It just doesn't make any sense. But, you know, it's all, you know, I like to say it's all peace and love. You know?
I've been doing this stuff for like 4 years now, over 4 years, and I specifically started doing this to kind of like, at first, the only one that I was really aware of was Ethan Van Sciver,
right?
Because like you, I was a fan, you know, big fan of that run, that era. I've actually got freaking, you know, Blue Lantern tattoo. You know,
I don't have that. I'm a Green Lantern fan. Just,
I know, man.
The color started to get me a little bit off, but you know, it's peace and love. We can.
It was a time in my life, you know. It's a whole nother,
yeah.
time.
It's about hope. It's, you know, I get it.
No regrets. Anyway, but like, yeah, and so I saw him like descending, right? Like every time he would say something fucked up or whatever, and then like have to walk it back and get called out and apologize for it and shit like that. You know, it was like, it was disappointing every time, because I'm like, dude, I like this guy's art. You know, you don't want to see somebody being a shithead to people that you respect their creative work, really. Not to the degree that he was being, especially, but like, you know, and then just over and over again, then he finally got fired and stuff. And then like, I kind of stopped paying attention for a few years. And then just as I started looking into stuff again, I would hear, you know, these fucking stories about Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate and these types of harassment campaigns and shit like that. And I started looking into it, and I'm like, God damn, dude, Like, and I would see how they were, the kinds of messages that they were saying about, or like the kinds of narratives they were claiming about comics and whatnot, I knew were
Right.
false. Like, you know, I'm like, they're grifting on the fact that a lot of people don't have like general comics knowledge the way that I do. Like, I mean, other people do, right? So they're like
Yeah.
aiming for people that don't know the kind of shit that me and you just kind of take for granted, I think.
Right. Well, you
And
know, there was a second wave of people that I think that came into comics because of the culture war shit, right? And
yeah,
like I think it was a product of like the Gamergate thing didn't really work. Like it, but that's because gaming is so huge that, well, you know, I'm friends with like Zoe, so I know that it caused a lot of pain. But what I mean is like it didn't work in the sense of like is Gamergate still around? No, like
well,
it.
so the reason I kind of went is because, like, you know, Steve Bannon is on record as basically saying that he kind of like corralled Gamergate and you know, kind of built that towards MAGA essentially. So like in a way, you know,
What
if
I
you
mean
want to
by that
call
is
it
it didn't affect gaming though. Do you think
right,
it did? Do you
yes,
think
no,
gaming has
absolutely.
been affected significantly?
Oh yeah, we
Um,
totally got ethics in games journalism now, right? Like we didn't
right.
have it before, and now we do, right? No,
But in comics is so niche that a thing that in gaming it would shrug off like a flea or something. In comics, it's a much bigger thing
yep,
because these people are so vocal about this shit, and you know they're passionate about something. You know, maybe they don't actually give a shit about comics, right? I I always want to give like human beings the benefit of the doubt. Are you familiar with Michael Brooks?
yes, absolutely,
You know,
yeah,
he said, "Be ruthless with systems, be kind to people." So like that's again, that was my failing to make fun of that guy. You know, I thought he's not even his account. He's not going to see it, whatever. But then the thing that's binding them is clearly fucking, you know, like you said, it's like it's a political machine that is bigger than them, and they happily go along with it because they benefit from it, or some of them, anyways.
but
You know,
it's yeah,
and
it's kind of complex. I mean, you know, like I said, 4 years doing this, I've learned to a lot more layers to it than I would have expected. When I started out, I was pretty simplistic with how I saw the stuff, and it's like now I feel like there's, you know, different motivations for different people, right? You know,
right,
especially when you're talking about the YouTubers and the guys that do the crowdfunding on Indiegogo and stuff like that. They've definitely got their specific motivations, but then why would fans kind of like just be drawn to this stuff? And it's like I think
right,
it's like a social cohesion kind of thing. Like you know, a lot of cases, people that, you know, feel alienated and whatnot, and those are valid feelings to have and shit.
right.
But like, you know, it's just kind of weaponized and harnessed by shitty people for shitty reasons. And yeah,
100%. And like, you know, to them, if you know, I don't like it. You would really have to like talk to one of them and like break it down. Like, you know, I know why like a dude like you know, one of these like comic creators that are no longer popping. Why I understand 100% why they would do that, right? But right, what is the motivation for like a dude that just works a normal job and like loves comics, but like cannot stand reading, you know, one of the 100 completely milk toast comics that Marvel and DC puts out that are not SJW like creations, right? Um, I don't know like what's in that guy's head that makes him go like Indiegogo is the only way to save this thing that I love,
yeah.
right?
I
But
mean,
it's definitely an interesting like it's definitely an interesting like worldview, you know, because I know if I loved comics and it was just people that I hated making them, then like all of them, like maybe I just would make my own, you know, and I know some of those people do it, but not all of them are skilled enough to draw it. And like,
right.
you know, when I got into drawing comics, I didn't read comics until I was in like high school. I just started going to the library and like just checking them out because I grew up very poor. So like we just didn't have any money. My mom was a single mom. She had 4 kids, you know, like so I would go when I found out the comics were at the library, I would just go there all the fucking time. And then you know, when I got a little bit of money, then I would, you know, buy a book or two, like I said. And, you know, when I got into comics, it was much different. Like when I got into reading them, it was much different. And it was very much like one specific point of view is allowed. And uh there was there was like a little bit of like, this is a little embarrassing. Like I'm a young guy and I have to walk around with like, you know, I love his work now, but Michael Turner with like the girls with like the thongs out and stuff. And I was like I'm not like I'm not like a huge feminist, but it would just look corny to me to have that cover when I would go on the bus ride home, right? So
Yeah.
like that was like when I started making comics, it was like, well, I know the kind of things that I would want to see, so that's what I want to do. And for then like what I didn't want to do was just like spend all of my energy saying fuck Michael Turner, he sucks, whatever. I just did not read his stuff, you know. So like it's a different, I guess it's a different attitude, you know. There's a little bit of like a caste system where there was always it's a zero sum game of like people that get into comics as like straight white cis guys. It's always been there for them. That's always been their domain. And to give up any ground to anybody else is like a destruction of that system, I guess, right? So,
I mean, you think I would know, but honestly, man, like I grew up reading them,
like,
and
sorry, go ahead.
I always wanted, I was like begging people to just read some comic books, and they would, I would get looked down on, and people scoff and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm like,
right,
dude, if you just only knew how awesome this shit was. So like to get older and then see that people actually are more getting into it, I'm like, fuck yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I don't understand that gatekeeping fucking mentality, really. I mean, I went through a little bit of a phase whenever you remember when that Spider-Woman cover was a big deal?
Yeah, the Milo Manara one.
Yeah.
My dog. You don't know about Milo? Whenever a famous old woman dies, I do a Milo drawing. I can do a pretty good Milo impression. So like the first one was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like when I just drew like a super hot Milo Manara Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Shit. And I was like, no, Milo, this is not how no, Maestro, we don't do this. And then like I did it again when the Queen died, and I did it again when Dianne Feinstein died.
Wait, are you talking like the same pose as Spider-Woman was in that one?
No, not the same pose. Okay. I'm a very talented artist, so I just did my own pose, but it was, and I even signed my name like he signed his name, and people would share it like, I can't believe Milo did this. And I was like, I know, it's fucking crazy that he would, be so That's disgusting amazing. Of a human being. But anyways, the point is like sorry, you're saying about Milo when that cover came out.
I was just saying that like I went through I made a video about it a couple of years ago, but like it's an embarrassing little point when I was like on Facebook, and I was definitely a little bit of a troll at that period. And I started seeing, I kind of went through like a short phase of like, what do these women have? What, they don't read comics. They shouldn't be telling us what women should be posed like and stuff like that. And like, a couple of days of that on the internet.
That's the Hawkeye Initiative thing. So here's a funny anecdote on Tumblr back in the day. That Hawkeye Initiative was a huge thing, which was for new fans, not for fucking old fans like me and you. Back then, it was anytime there was a pose that women that was like suggestive, like that was like the kind of tacky shit that I didn't like, frankly. Like when I talk about Mike Turner with the thong out and everything. Like, again, I love Mike Turner now. Like, my friends were like shocked when I was like, "Have you really read Mike Turner comics?" And they're like, "Yes, have you?" Like, but anyways. Anyway, besides the point, when that came out, I remember they were do some, and it was like Alex Ross. Alex Ross is a very gifted painter. He's never painted anything sexy in his life. He just doesn't have that capability. He doesn't do it. So I was like, it weakens the argument when you do this to make that point, right? And I posted that, and I did one of like Amanda Connor. And I drew a Hawkeye Initiative of Amanda Connor Power Girl pose. And they were like, I said, like, as a person who's an aspiring comic book artist, which I was, what is the distinction between just any pose drawn by a man of a woman in a sexy costume and being over-sexualized? I asked that question. And I remember I just got a ton of people like, you're a neckbeard, you're a man baby, you're a whatever. And, in that moment, I could have been like, no, I'm right. It's all these women that are wrong. Or I could be like, oh, maybe they have a point. Maybe I have some things I got to work out. And like, on the same time, people were like, women were like, that's a good point. Like some of them did. What really didn't hurt my cause though was the drawing I had done right before that was a character called Satan Girl from Legion of Superheroes. And she was like on her knees with Supergirl, like having her chained up. And it was like, I was like, man, I really should have thought this through. Like it really, fucked me up. Like, it made me feel like I'm very concerned, like, about this thing. Like,
It's time
made me
time
look
of
like
reflection.
made
Uh,
me look like a fucking idiot. Although it was very respectful. She was on her knees very respectfully, Supergirl. Like, it wasn't over sexualized. I thought it was neat. To me, it was like a little Daniel Klausy, in my opinion. But
oh my god, I just found this. This is one of my, that Psylocke pose from my childhood. Just it's burned into my brain. So seeing Hawkeye like that is amazing.
these make
Um,
sense to me. Like, I understand. Like, yes, that is a not good pose. As a, I love the drawing, but that pose, it perpetuates sexist
mhm.
uh
I
whatever.
mean, just aside from the fact that
It-
just like anatomy wise, it's atrocious.
yeah,
You
but I
know?
don't, the anatomy means nothing to me if the vibes are right,
True. I feel it.
I've always said that, because I don't care if Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man anatomy is fucked. It looks cool as shit. That's cool, right? But it's different. So yeah. Like, the thing about the Hawkeye Initiative that fascinates me, though, was like, look at how far we've come since then. Like,
Mhm.
that was like, you know, these people were acting like that was ruining comics. Just women being able to be like, that's kind of fucked up, right? It wasn't
I
ruining anything.
I
The
didn't
same
under like
comics were being made and still get made to this day.
just like from my perspective. Then thinking back on it, like I didn't understand. Like to me, like okay, so they're talking about women being dressed, in little scantily things and like skin tight stuff, but like the dudes are dressed that way too, like they
Right.
got bulges and like stuff that aren't realistic to, and so I tried my best to understand it back then. I just really didn't have the fucking, I guess, the
Yeah.
framework to get it, so I'm glad that I
And-
didn't like stay like just continue down that road publicly on YouTube or some shit like that. That would have been pretty cringe. But
I've had this conversation with my friend Tamara quite a bit. Tamara's trans, and sometimes I just like we'll just chat about this kind of stuff where I'm just like, man, I feel like I dodged a bullet, or like I could have been one of those people if like just a couple things went different, like a butterfly effect.
yep.
And so like that's why sometimes I know that like the things that they say to Tamara and like other women in comics, like it doesn't affect me. I don't care, right? But I know that it's much more dangerous when it's aimed towards people that are more vulnerable. And like that's why when the Comicsgate stuff first happened, they attacked trans women first, then they attacked white women, then eventually it started trickling down to where like I would get backsplash sort of hate. And like, I I feel like sometimes a little bit like privileged to be able, like, I'm checking my privilege, but like I feel a little privileged that I can just shake it off and not worry about it.
Yeah.
When like there's a lot of people that can't. And like, like the guy who I made fun of, like, he didn't want that. He didn't ask for that. But
Well, yeah,
Go
I mean, let's kind of get into that because I think
Yeah,
we got a through line that we can do here. If we want
yeah.
to.
We're cooking
So,
right now.
if we're cooking, yeah. So like,
77 to 75 idiots. Continue.
all right. So let me check and make sure there's not any like super, I don't know, important super chats. You're all important guys. You're every one of you. That's why I
Are
can't.
they saying anything good?
Let's see. Cake Eye. So Hawkeye had some good cakes, so they're calling him Cake Eye. There's that one. Comic skaters couldn't even take their own criticism. That's true. I mean, yeah, they can't take shit really. Yeah, and to what you were saying, like that's one of the reasons I started doing this was like I knew that they, they're gonna say some shit that's gonna be super crappy to me. Like, honestly, my when I started out, I was like, if I'm even any kind of remotely as good as I want to be at like putting these kind of facts out there, this perspective out there, then yeah, they're gonna fucking say some really crappy stuff about me. But if they're focused on me, they're not focused on other people that aren't expecting it. And
And that's a great thing, to be honest. Like I remember when that was going on, it was super heavy. Like they were just attacking like trans women and like female editors and stuff. When Renfamous started becoming their like the biggest target, it was
crazy.
like shitty for her. And I feel bad for the way all the abuse that she took, but it did ease off a lot. Like it was a pressure valve release of a lot of that stuff. And I think sometimes, like as a pro, if I'm being honest, sometimes like with you and her, and there's other people, get into this thing, like I can't remember his name. It was like a something Spider-Man. He might have left Twitter.
SJW Spider-Man.
That's it.
Yeah,
But there were these people that became like, they were the people that these Comicsgate people would attack instead of just somebody trying to do their job that had that has no interest in getting into a big fucking like war with them. They're just trying to pay their bills, right? And like, I think that's a great thing that you guys do, and I feel grateful that you are willing to do that. And what's this? Just discovered this channel.
Yeah, man. Welcome.
That's the thing is, I Am Bat Dad was, when you asked me to do this, I said, yeah, absolutely, because you're literally, I think, the only anti SJW channel, and that's
there's more. I've kind of gotten together, well, like barely. So like about a little over a year ago, me and a couple other guys that have channels, like we'd kind of just started realizing that we existed, right? Cool. Turf Nation, and so they're not as much.
Their name is Turf Nation.
With a U, yeah. He didn't.
Wow.
Look, it was a nickname when he was a little kid.
You're streaming with the country of England. Okay.
No, he says it stands for Trans Uniting Radical Feminists. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. No, it was a nickname from way before he even understood any context of that kind of thing.
Right.
Great dude. And then Organized Chaos, and they don't really focus on comics quite as much as me, so that might be why. But like, yeah, we kind of got together over a year ago. We've been doing a show every Wednesday at least together.
I'll have to follow them.
Trying to put our audiences together and just kind of like, put a I don't know, a beacon out there, like, hey, look, they got the dominance on this fucking platform because the algorithm favors their kind of bullshit, but like, they're not the only thing.
You know what's interesting? I remember the peak. It was 5 years ago when the anti-SJW stuff was like just super rampant, and it was like the comics and diversity guy was number one, Zach or whatever, Richard Myers. He was number one, and then Ethan Van Sciver came up and supplanted him. But beneath him was that Yellow Flash guy, who like now is like way above those guys, right? Like their view count is way higher, I think. Like I look at Ethan's views or some of the other guys, and it's like 10K, which is good.
No, here's the thing with Ethan, dude. Like I don't know if you remember, like earlier in the year, he went on Tim Pool's podcast, right?
Yeah. I remember because he had the fucking black beard, fire look for him. He looked like Bully Ray Dudley. He had the inch of like skin between the beard and the hat, which is sick as fuck. It's like the Panama Canal on his head. It was fire, dude.
But like, so I had stopped kind of talking about Ethan for a while before that because I realized that like, oh wait, he's not really as relevant as he was whenever I started doing this. People don't talk about him. He doesn't get, he's and Comicsgate isn't really growing, to be honest. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to not talk about him really. And then he went on fucking Tim Pool's podcast, and I damn near had a panic attack when I realized he was on there. Cause I'm like, fuck, this means he's back. You know what I mean? He's going to be like getting a whole bunch of new people from Tim Pool's. It's like, fuck, God damn it. And then 2 weeks later, like, I watched him for a couple of weeks there trying to like, pick up some new subs off of that appearance and stuff. And like, he really, like, you can go look at his Social Blade. He didn't really do anything from that. Like he didn't gain anything. And that's fucking kind of sad, to be honest. Like you go on somebody like Tim Pool's podcast and sell yourself like he did, and you can't even
dyed
get
his beard for that. You think he dyed his beard for that? Like you think I'm going 100%. On, I got to get my shit. I got my Just for Men shit looking clean as fuck. You 100%. Think it was like, oh man, I hope so. I hope that there was a conversation with whoever he's dating. I know it's not Charisse. I think she's dating like a weapons instructor or something. I remember in the comic block days, Charisse the Bunny was his wife, but it's not anymore. I think. I don't know. I don't pry into his personal life. I just used to be a fan. But anyways, whoever it was, I wonder if there was a conversation like, honey, I got a big Tim Pool appearance. Should I dye my beard?
Should I dye my beard?
Should I dye my beard so that the SJWs know that I'm an alpha?
Yours is really good. That's probably the best fucking EVS I've heard. He actually, I don't know if you know this, he did some art for Jordan Peterson,
The 12 Rules of Life. That's a great book. The SJWs could learn a lot from that book,
I've got so much stuff about Ethan Van Sciver. It's not even funny. It's ridiculous.
Again, like it's a weird thing where like he's a fascinating guy.
He is.
But it is sad that like the guy who they used to just have on it, like the Yellow Flash guy, he was smart enough to realize that there's a bigger world outside of comics, and he surpassed them. by a lot. I think. I don't know.
Another guy who kind of like, built on the model that Ethan had kind of laid down, but then like surpassed him recently is Eric July.
Oh, did he? Is that the Ripaverse guy?
I mean,
Okay,
things aren't
gotta
going
be
well
honest.
for him. I'll say that. But
What's that?
things aren't going very well for him. He kind of fucked up. He's a little too close to the sun.
I'll say this: that once like once a lot of that heat got taken off us, I stopped paying attention as much. Like when the Ripaverse stuff started happening, they my friends would talk about it, and I was like, "What the fuck is the Ripaverse?" Like it was not. I didn't know about it at all. I just know it's a guy named Eric July.
Yeah, he's like a YouTuber who'd been doing videos, just kind of grifting on Marvel and DC for several years, just basically the same kind
Prior
of
to Comicsgate, or
no, I mean I guess around the same period of time. So like he would basically every day he had a new video up, and he would say, look at what these weirdos are doing over there at Marvel now, and like shows some thing that's pretty innocuous or whatever, and like this is why everybody hates it, this is why their sales are bad, and just kind of grifting.
Right.
And he built an audience on that shit, and then of course after he builds his audience, he goes, well, now I'm putting out a comic book because I've told you for years now what all these bad comics are. Now I'm going to show you what a good comic is, right? And I mean, maybe I'll get with you after the show, and I'll hook you up with that comic so you can check it out for yourself, because it's something, man.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I try not to talk about bad comics publicly, because I do think that talking about good comics is like the move, so if it's bad, even I won't even talk about it. But like,
well, the reason that I focused on and just him and like Ethan and all and stuff is just because of the fact that they fucking make it a priority to like target people that have nothing to do with anything, that are just like doing their own thing over here, whatever, right. Because they're trans or whatever. Eric has made a lot of videos calling trans people weirdos and groomers and shit like that, and just fuck that. I'm gonna have to push back when I see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and again, it's so interesting because there were people that made comics before, like trans women made comics before the Comicsgate stuff started. I made comics before that stuff started, and before that, it wasn't that I have a job because of my identity, and then it was that stuff happened, and then it was like they only work because of that, and it's whatever makes you feel like happy about, like if you wanted to do it and you couldn't do it, that's that's maybe part of it, but it's like a little bit of copium involved. I think
this kind of plays into what we're talking about. We're going to talk about, because like I don't know if you ever noticed, but like there's never been like a creator who's like gets super successful and he's at the peak of his success, and then he goes, all right, fuck this, I'm out, I'm joining Comicsgate, right? It's always somebody who's like, their best days are behind them. If they
guys who like edge on that line, like they know they're smart enough to just be like, here's a little taste to the Comicsgate, like Sean Gordon Murphy. I think he's like he will never say that he's with Comicsgate because he's big enough to know that would be ruinous to him. But he will tease it out. I just like to appease the fans, like he'll say the things that they want to hear. But you're right. Nobody who's like popping really is gonna go. Daniel Warren Johnson, who's like the best. He's like the biggest right now. He's like the sickest artist, right? He's not gonna go. Yeah, Comicsgate is where it's at. That's insane.
So yeah, and like
aside from the fact that I know him and he's like a great guy, it wouldn't make sense to do that.
Dude, hook me up with a chat with him. I'd be forever indebted, but I'm not gonna beg you on stream.
That motherfucker's busy. He doesn't even talk to me that much right now. But he's I love the guy. But I can't hook anything up.
So we're saying that now. We're saying that that like nobody's ever been at the kind of the top and then joined, but like maybe that might be something that's changing. It seems like maybe, I don't know.
Oh, you think that? Is that why you were saying that you were a little shook because of Mark Millar?
I mean, I have my opinions on it. I'm just kind of teeing up a little tease for the audience's sake here. I don't think that he's going to just be like, all right, I'm fucking Comicsgate and like Cyberfrog bitches or something like that.
Well, I think it's probably less to do. Like, well, I think he's, if I'm being honest, I think he's just kind of a dumb person and Scottish as well on top of that. So it's like,
yeah, you said he's dumb.
People who have been historically dominated by greater nations. So maybe he's used to rolling over and giving in. I don't know. I'm American, you know.
Well, I mean,
Like
I
I
think
said in
that
my
there's
video,
what
the
I tend
A
to
on
do.
my forehead doesn't stand for France, you know.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you
One of
saw
my
the name. The
boys
name of the
pointed out,
stream. The name of the stream is like does the A on Mark Millar's head stand for Chud? Is what the name of the stream. So
that's crazy. One of
I,
my friends pointed out that I have all these A's hats and I didn't even put one on for the
oh
A.
shit,
You know what I mean? I have
yeah,
Adidas on right now, but
man.
at any rate,
I mean, I literally used to wear a Captain America helmet in my videos early on. So
oh, was that you?
that was yeah.
Okay, well, shout
Had a glowing mask on and shit.
shout out to Captain America. You,
Um,
so Mark Millar, you know,
yeah.
I
Well,
love him.
let's check out this.
quietly
Let's check out this one guy first. We'll kind of go through these clips here, just kind of get anybody that's not aware of the context of what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
Because I know not everybody fucking spends time on this hellhole that is Twitter. So
X.com.
These new writers don't have the love of comics like these older writers had.
Yeah.
And
Can
all
you
they
pause?
care about is.
I love this guy. Like, you know, I said he was a salami breath hog. It's wrong.
I don't even know what that means. It's just funny.
What do you mean? That's a hog with salami breath.
Okay.
Because his voice is so like, it sounds like that
Yeah.
motherfucker ate a salami sandwich. Like that
True,
motherfucker.
true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit more Boston-y, I guess. It's like kind of, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, he's from Boston, which is what I
Okay.
learned, but I didn't know. I couldn't tell the difference.
Kind of Peter Griffin a little bit, right? Like a little bit of Peter Griffin going on.
The thing that was wrong was I called him a hog. I shouldn't have said that. This man is an Adonis, dude.
True.
Dude, his fucking shirt neckline is so crusty. You just, anyways, I want to say my point that I wanted to make when I said pause is that like this man, who is this guy? This is a fucking retailer of 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, salami sandwiches go hard as fuck at Lucifer writing, but you know, you just don't want to have that breath on you all day afterwards, and you don't want to sound like you have that breath on you. But the shop like has it's one of my least favorite things in comic shops, and so many of them do it where you have the one rack covering the other rack.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that's unfair to Danger Street. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I hear you. So the thing that got me upset about this, and like me and Gail Simone actually had an exchange over on BlueSky about it, because I was like, you know, she said she rightfully so, you know, she's normally got some fucking base ass takes, and she'd said, like, you know, people that are like bullying this guy, that's not fucking okay. Like, even if you disagree with him, you think he's wrong or whatever, like there's no reason to be shitty to him. And I'd replied, and I was like, in no way do I think any of that is okay. However, separate from that, I do think that it's kind of a problem whenever guys who, you know, he's a 30-year veteran, right? And that's why he was chosen by that one account to, you know, to platform and whatnot, or to boost in this way. Mm-hmm. But like, he's seen as somebody who knows his shit. And then he's literally works in a comic shop. He owns one, or presumably maybe.
That's what he said.
And he's saying that all the comics are being written this way or whatever. And it's like, man, that is such a it's just so reductive and fucking,
yeah.
Like, it almost feels like it's intentional, like it would have to be to make that kind of claim. And then just, you know, yeah.
If that's the case, then why is he ordering them? If they're not, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense on any level. But he believes this culture bullshit, this culture war bullshit. So he's spouting it out again, like, to whose benefit? You know? Like, I'm not saying don't.
Van Skivers and fucking, you know, and Thinking Critical and those guys now, they're like using it.
Not my boy Mark too.
Yeah, and Mark too.
Yeah. But so anyways, his shop, like, there's you know, how many comic shops have you been to in your life?
I mean, probably I'd say just like let's say even 3 dozen maybe.
Yeah. When I helped promote this convention here in town, and when we would start it, we would go all up and down Northern California, like every shop. We wanted to put our poster. We wanted to see if they wanted to sell tickets, and you know, we would meet every type of retailer. And you know, there are some that are very like the shop. There's a couple shops that I really love here in Northern California. One of them is called Cape and Cowl, and they literally like just won the Spirit Award for like the best retailer at the Eisners. It's Cape and Cowl in Oakland. It's a great shop, right? And you would never see them putting out a video about how much comics suck. It just wouldn't happen. There's nothing to gain from that. And
imagine
then there are
owning a shop
shops
and then being like, let's say you own like a hammer shop, and you're just like, man, all these fucking hammers are terrible. You know what I mean? Like these fucking shittiest hammers I've ever seen.
And then, you know, people would say like, oh, you know, look at this fucking idiot. What a dumbass. And it's like, yeah, they shouldn't say that. I shouldn't have said that, but like, yeah, you would say that guy's a fucking idiot. Why would you do that? You know?
Well, so I mean, I looked into them a little bit.
But then there are these shops like this that I would go to too. And I get why they're there, because on some level, there are people that are going to want that content, like those comics, and that's great for the industry that they have them. And it sucks that when any shop goes out of business, like it's not good. But the reason why they're going out of business is not because one comic book is written a certain way, or even because 10 comics are written a certain way. When there are over 100 shops, I mean, over 100 comics that come out from just Marvel and DC alone. Like I used to go to the shop in Manteca. It was a very small store, and their highest selling books were like just hella random ass Image comics, and then a book called like Zombie Horror or something. It was some great. Oh shit! My boy Abraham says there are retailers suggesting if I build it, they will come and do nothing to foster the community, and there are shops that make it more than the big two. Right. So like Zombie Tramp. It was called Zombie Tramp. And like, I went in there, I'm like, what are your highest selling book? And they go, Zombie Tramp. And I'm like, that's insane. How is that the case? It's because this motherfucker is selling Zombie Tramp. That's what he likes. So when somebody comes in and says, oh, what's good here? He'll go, have you heard of Zombie Tramp? And like, you know, even if I personally would never read that comic, and, you know, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm saying even if I didn't, like, if I go in there and I don't know anything about comics, I'm more likely to read it because that's what he's going to give to me. So like, if I went in there and I'm like, oh, what's good here? And this guy goes, well, you know, fucking what they're doing with Captain America is a disgrace. I'd be like, oh, that sucks. And I would not buy anything. Like it just makes sense. It just, you know, for the people whose like big hang up is like pros insulting the customers.
Right.
They don't care that this guy insults this thing that he's selling, you know, like I hate there's a lot of comics.
Because there clearly are people that buy, some people that buy the comics these things suck, so he's insulting those customers too,
right?
You know, like if those people that are his regulars or whatever that do buy this shit see this going around, they're like, what the fuck, dude, you fucking throw me under the bus here, man. Like I come in there and spend money.
I remember when a long time ago I went into the shop and I was like, are you gonna get American Splendor? Like, because it was when Vertigo was doing American Splendor, and they're like, no, we don't order that. And I was like, well, can you order that? He goes, yeah, we can order that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can you get one for me? He's like, yeah. And I came in with the next month when it came out. Like, did you get American Splendor? He goes, no. And I'm like, why not? He goes, oh, you were serious. I'm like, why would I ask you to? And then I remember I bought like Nightwing. And he goes, you seriously like this book? And I was like, yes, motherfucker. Why don't you just let me buy it? You know?
That's dumb.
But like, there are shops like that all around the world too, where they're just like these people like in little hovels that have not changed in 30 years. And like, yes, those shops are as valid as the award-winning shops that foster the community, that help the business, but they're not the same. You know, just like the comic book that you think fucking sucks and other people think is good. Like, it's all subjective, but like, you know, it's the same thing with shops. Like, there are some really great shops, and there are some shops that like, if you haven't been going there for 15 years, you're not going to want to go there for 15 years, you know?
Real quick, do you have a YouTube channel that you do, or you just do it on SoundCloud, your podcast?
Yeah, it's just on SoundCloud.
Okay.
Oh, shout out to Lindsay PCC. Look, my podcast, if anybody's still listening from my podcast, they'll tell you it's on a hiatus. It's not dead. It is not dead, but it is on a hiatus because I need to catch up with some deadline stuff.
I feel that.
You know, it sucks.
It's called Mex Flintallo.
That's right. Shout out to my boy Para. That's my guy right there.
There's episodes up. You can go listen to some back episodes there.
The back ones are good. And the things, I have one about EVS too. I have one about Green Lantern Rebirth. What my podcast would be is we would read a comic, and what I hated in a lot of podcasts, or like when people talk about comics in general, what I fucking hate is when they'll just say what the story is and they won't say what it's about. So my comics was like taking apart these different books, reading it page by page, and like saying what the intention of those books were. We did a couple Mark Millar ones. We did Trouble, which is where that Trouble.
Yeah, there was actually a pretty funny post that I was gonna show here in a second.
I'm very familiar with it because I did an episode about that with this Scottish friend of mine who's like NB and like lives over there. They hate Mark Millar, not Grant Morrison, but someone else.
I was about to say that sounds like you're talking about Grant Morrison.
No, but we all had a begrudging respect for his wild mind by the end of that show.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a interesting to try and get a read on what the fuck he's about, right? Like what do you believe, man? But for anybody that's not familiar with Trouble, dude, like I'm sorry.
You want me to explain it? Can I do like a quick recap? If you don't know what Trouble is that is Aunt May and Peter Parker's mom. One of them is Aunt May, one of them is Peter Parker's mom, and it's about those characters and then Peter Parker's dad and Uncle Ben. But like Uncle Ben was dating Aunt May, and her sister was Peter Parker's mom, obviously. But then they were like cheating on each other. It was like they were all fucking each other except for Uncle Ben, who was like getting cucked and then like got kicked in the ball so hard he couldn't produce a kid. And it was psychotic. We read the book and we just like our minds were blown of like how fucked up this comic was. Like he thought he was doing like American Pie. And like back then I used to do a ton of these research for these episodes, which is why I don't put them out as much because it's harder to do that when I'm working. But I would find like old interviews where he talked about it and he was like, I'm trying to do like American Pie, and it's like not funny, it's just bizarre.
Cuckoldin. But didn't he end up saying that like Aunt May was actually Peter's biological mother?
No.
Was that not
yeah. Because Aunt May was like, she was loose back then. So she was fucking his dad. She was fucking Peter Parker's dad. And they were best friends. It was a very tangled web that they were weaving, the Spider-Man web.
Go ahead and say this. Let's just say this about the fucking cover, right? Like this is jailbait shit, man. Like this is early 2000s, like fucking let's put some fucking really young looking girls in bikinis on the cover.
You don't think that's a sick cover?
No, man, I'm not a fan. I don't like
all of them were hilarious. Like they all looked like that, or they were like the cheesecake from that era, like I forgot the guy who drew it, but it was like just, they were trying to just be like, this is a fucking titillating book. This is hot.
Gross. Yeah, the Epstein core, Jesus Christ.
We might have called it something like that. I can't remember what that guy. It's been so long, but
it's not porn, man. It's really not. It's not. It's almost worse than porn in a weird way.
Yeah, my podcast listeners, I'm trying to come back. But it's just there's been a number of obstacles and I'm getting past them. But anyways,
so
Mark Millar.
Yeah, Mark Millar. Before we get on to him, I did want to look at this. What I think is
we stopped watching the guy's vid. I think we paused it too fast.
True. But let's look at this real quick. This is what I think at the end of the day is really going on with fucking comic book shops.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's to act like comic book shops are just exist in a vacuum and aren't part of the same economy that everything else is fucking part of is it's disingenuous on its own. And like, and I even see people engaging with some of these arguments. There's some of these claims by the, these Comicsgaters and stuff on as if they're like valid premises to even engage with. And it's like, no, man, it's like, if you're not really bringing in the fact that there's, let me pull up this other thing I got here.
Do you know B. Claymore?
Look at this one. Wall Street says 50,000 retail stores will close in 5 years.
That's
and this is like just been fucking closures after closures, especially after the pandemic. But it was going on before the pandemic too.
Right.
Retail is just not doing so hot, man. It's like, and comic books have always been this thing that's like right on the knife's edge of like, it could be in a few months, it could be like the best, period of sales ever, or it could be like, oh, are we fucking going out of business?
Right.
It's always been like that. So like, of course, that's going to be one of the things that's just going to have it the hardest during.
Well, you know what helps shops the most though, is if you have a big audience base to tell them don't spend any money on those books. In fact, just give you a bunch of money. Give me $300 to buy like a pog of my character. That's really what's going to help save the shops. It's so disingenuous for them to be like, what we're really concerned about now is the comic shops, when they've only ever been interested in lining their pockets for the fucking Indiegogo campaigns.
The thing is, they don't even sell their comics in comic shops.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're trying to act like you care about no, man. They don't.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. These guys are so out of touch with the industry, and it's all just like strictly for their own individual gain. Did you know that they generally, like, I don't think any Comicsgater does digital comics?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that for quite a while. I was like, really? Yeah, that Isom Rippaverse shit, all of Cyberfrog, all of it. There's no digital versions. Because they want to make sure they can get every cent for that every physical copy they can.
And like, if I'm being honest, like, because I do stuff for Bad Idea, and they have a similar policy of no digital because, but they, for a long time now, they've done more Kickstarters because of just the way the market works. But for a long time, it was exclusive to shops, and if you went to a shop, it was the only way you could get it. And the books were like the highest quality books. Like, I mean, like in terms of like paper stock, and like they would do special covers, but there were no variants. They were like specifically designed to make the single product an object that's worth having. And so I'm not against that in principle. What I'm against is saying that you're for the shops if you're not even in the shops. Like, if that's not even where people buy it, if the shop isn't helped by it, then don't say that you're super concerned about the comic industry because, or I guess they're not. A lot of these people are just saying they're glad it's going away because they feel like they haven't been, accepted into it because of wokeism. But,
it's all like the narrative is all designed, kind of crafted to like just demonize, especially Marvel and DC. And like, look, people call me shill all the time. Literally, our that podcast I do with those dudes on Wednesday is called the Shillcast because we get called that shit so often. It's like, they think we're just constantly are praising everything. That's not even true. But like, we can't even really focus a whole lot on the many fucking legit criticisms of these things because we have to deal with this bad faith bullshit that's actually harmful fucking narratives that's harmful towards human beings. And it's like, no, man, we're not going to bat for corporations in any way, shape, or form. We'll go to bat for fans. We'll go to bat for creators and just like facts and shit. You know what I mean? Right. But like, it's general. No, I don't give a fuck about even Marvel as a corporation, as weird as it is to say. But even I'm a lifelong Marvel fan. So anyway,
and that's the thing is like, I'm a fan of comics. I'm a fan of stories. So like when I was doing my podcast, a lot of it was not about any sort of business side of it. I just wanted to know what these stories were like. We did like Youngblood, and I was like, oh, it's a fascinating conversation about American imperialism somehow. You know what I mean? Like there, like all that stuff can be in comics, and like my personal sort of problem with comics today is that they don't say anything. Shout out to my boy Ibrahim. He says that's how you could tell those guys are the grifters. They find ways to impact themselves into the narrative as either a victim, a savior, a free thinker, all the above, and it all comes down to money. Right? Exactly. Ibrahim's like really, really good writer and artist and YouTuber. Actually, have you seen his stuff?
I haven't. No.
He makes custom action figures that are like fucking like literal works of art. Sometimes like he did like these Ninja Turtles that just like look fucking amazing. Like he's the man. But he also does books for humanoids. He does like a few graphic novels, and they've all been like sick. Retroverse, I think, was the most recent one that's come out. Retroactive, I mean, sorry.
Wow, you should come on sometime, man. By the way,
but he's the man. But yeah, no, like he's also 100% right about what he's saying. Like this dude and I will talk about comics and like the hours that we put into trying to be good comic creators, and you don't accidentally get good at drawing comics. If you are like us, we do worry about the state of the industry because that's where we make our living. And it's so funny that people say like, oh, just me saying something on Twitter is what's ruining the industry and not the big societal collapse that we're living through at late stage capitalism.
Right. Yeah. Trying to like just put it on a certain group of people. It's harmful in so many ways, man. It's harmful in the comic book, in the industry sense, in the fandom sense, and then just like it keeps people from focusing on the real fucking problems that we, need to be addressed. And it's really fucking frustrating. But and this guy, that's why this guy pisses me off. Going back to him, because this shit does nothing but.
Can I put myself in the book? No, we don't care what you would do if you were Iron Man.
Notice these people when they make these claims, they never say anything specific. Like, who is he talking about, man? Name some fucking names. Like, I've seen a lot of dudes the last few days being like, oh, all the women writers at Marvel and DC suck, or not all of them. And I'm like, well, which ones then? Tell me what issues and even panels and stuff that you can that you think a character was not behaving the way that the character should be, and they're like, and how do you know that that's the writers behavior coming through that character? Like, can you substantiate any of the shit you're saying? No, of course not. But
we don't care who you are. You're writing Tony Stark. You're not writing yourself in a book. If that's the case, write your own comic with you in it. No one will read it because nobody cares. People grew up are growing up loving Peter Parker, loving Miles Morales, loving all these Captain America. We don't need you to put your input in it.
How the fuck are you going to act like writers don't put their input into a fucking character, right? Like,
yeah. It's like, I love Green Lantern, like I've said. Like, it's literally, I have some action figures up here. It's the only ones I collect is Green Lantern, but just Kyle Rayner. And the true Green Lantern, yeah. Was that?
The true Green Lantern.
Exactly. So, like, I love Green Lantern. And you know what the most popular, most enduring Green Lantern story is? I don't even like it that much. It's the one where him and Green Arrow go on a road trip and look around America and seeing how fucked up it is in the 70s. So, like, to say like now is when it's a problem, when people have been inserting politics into comics since they started. Like Superman was like beating up oil barons and landlords, and he was this like socialist, character.
I've covered it so many times. I've got a video on Superman. I've got a video. We're just going through like Marvel's history, because it's called like, what was Marvel like before the agendas, right? And like I'm like, well, let's look at this old Howard the Duck comic where he runs for president, and like, let's look at this Hulk comic with this character that has AIDS, and just it's this shit's always been there, man. It's like it's
so interesting that when it's something like now, like when he sees that, he thinks that there's something wrong with it, when before he didn't, right? Like now he sees it and he's like, well, it must be because the people that are making it, like, they're trying to ruin me. Like, most of these people have just want to make the comics and get paid and like make something cool that they like. Again, you don't have to like it, but to say that they do it because they're intentionally trying to do something to harm somebody is insane.
I mean, Lucifer, I would agree with you, except it's just, I struggle to get past the fact that he's been running the shop for 20, 30 years, and he still would be that naive about it, like to where he would say that this is what the comics are all like. I don't know. It just feels weird. But somebody had a good take in response to that. Here, just want to check this one out real quick.
Hey, what's up? This is Tim Seeley. Here's
my boy Tim.
This is my first comic I ever got, Amazing Spider-Man 230. Came out in 1982 when I was 5 years old. I loved it. I read Spider-Man for the next 13 years. But then in 1994, the Clone Saga came out, and I hated it. So I stopped reading Spider-Man. But you know who didn't stop reading Spider-Man? A whole bunch of new readers. People that are younger than me love that book. This happens to me all the time. I talk to people, they're like, I got it on this Clone Saga. I don't get it, but that's okay. Because I had other books.
That's like me when I hear people like, oh yeah, the Star Wars prequels are my Star Wars movies or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, man. If you're a Star Wars fan, I'll accept it. But like, that's kind of weird to me.
I mean, it's just, people get very, I think with all of this stuff, like as a fan, all you have as capital in like when you engage with this stuff is your opinion and your like ideas of how this stuff is supposed to be, when none of that is actually real. You know what I mean? And I, like, again, going back to when I first, like, not when I first started reading, but when I first started like going to shops and buying comics, I remember I loved All-Star Batman and Robin because I just loved Jim Lee and Frank Miller. Sin City had just come out. My mind was blown. I read Dark Knight Returns at the library. I thought this is like the best comic I've ever seen, and it's still one of the best.
True.
When I remember when that came out, after all that stuff came out, like that run, I remember thinking I should read All-Star Superman, but Grant Morrison did an interview about Frank Miller where they had talked about how Frank was going to do the Holy Terror Batman, and they said like, why would you make a comic about Batman fighting in Afghanistan against like terrorists? Like, you could just sign up and go do that yourself. Like, why does you don't need to do all that? So I remember thinking like, man, fuck Grant Morrison, like fuck All-Star Superman, fuck Frank Quitely. This whole book looks stupid. I'm not fucking with this book. Now, probably my favorite comic ever made.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's a fucking masterpiece.
At the time, I was so tribalistic of like, I fuck with Frank Miller because of Sin City, and Jim Lee because he's Jim Lee. So like, whatever this other guy is saying, like, I don't agree with that, right? And like, I was 100% wrong. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, and obviously Grant Morrison was right because Grant Morrison's always right.
True.
But it's such a funny thing to look back on and think about that when, like, we talked about these like fork in the road moments of like, am I going to become like a chud asshole, or am I going to become like a normal person who just like has a very healthy relationship with comics, even though it's like semi unhealthy because I spend all my time making them. Like, little things twist of how your like mind is going to like break. So like, if that shop owner had a thing where like, I don't know, I looked him up because I was just curious about him, and like, it was him with like a bunch of Archie comics. Maybe one of the Archie comics broke his brain and he's just gone forever. Maybe he was normal for most of his time owning that shop. One Archie book came out and he didn't relate to it. He didn't understand it. He wanted Archie to be the way Archie has always been. And so now he's gone, Maybe,
So
maybe it's just that simple, but
I mean, I noticed that like, so there was like a documentary, kind of like a local documentary made about his shop in like
really?
2018, 2019. And then I guess due to the pandemic, the shop closed, like it was shut down. Like and so in that way, like, good on him for whatever it was that, however he was able to get it back, up and running and stuff. That's fucking awesome. But I mean, I'm kind of just like wondering if maybe that just wasn't going. He's, look, the shop was already.
Though? Like, do you think he's like, how does he monetize this? He didn't even post that clip that went viral. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
So weird.
I think that what's going to happen is he might start grifting now because people are going to kind of like, hey man, you should do this. You should do this. That might be something that happens, but yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, but shout out to Tim Seeley. Check out his book with my boy Tony Fleece.
Yep.
Yeah.
So essentially, what he says here is just my channel's tagline, which is ambassadors, not gatekeepers, man. Like, you can if somebody else likes something that you don't fucking like, then okay, cool, whatever. Focus on what you do like together. Or if somebody if you don't like something and somebody was looking for a specific thing, and that this thing I don't like, that they'll like that, fucking turn them on to that thing. You know what I mean? Why would you not? I don't know.
Which, again, like, it's weird to show my podcast, which I haven't put out in a while, but that was like a lot of the point of when I did that, of like, there's so many comics I love that even like I regret loving on some level, like the Green Lantern Rebirth, where I'm like, does it hold up for me? Like, not really, but like, there is something I love about it. What was it? So we would just talk about it page by page. Like, what is so great about this comic? And then we would do it with like Trouble. We would do it with all kinds of stupid books, but that was the idea. Like you said, like, there's no reason for me to just go, oh, that fucking book sucks. When I was younger and probably more angry, I probably like did say that kind of stuff, like,
absolutely,
to friends.
I did.
But now it's just like, when I see like the new Raphael Grandpa, and I don't agree with Raphael Grandpa politically on a bunch of things, but that book looks amazing. Like, there are people who I don't even like all that much, and I would acknowledge that their art is fucking beautiful. And then there are people who,
look, man,
I like, and their art's not that great at all.
The way I look at it is, where we all got finite time in this fucking existence, and like, there's a lot of suffering that everybody's got to deal with. So like, why not just let people connect with things they connect with? You know what I mean? And to me, it makes all the sense in the world. I don't know, but like, speaking of, you talked about Grant Morrison a minute ago. They had they have some takes about Mr. Millar. So apparently, like Mark Millar was somewhat of like a understudy, protege to a degree over what was it, 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this is their take on Mark Millar now.
Yeah, that was an iconic. That was an iconic quote. I remember loving that when I first read it. I love it.
It goes hard. It goes hard. And I just can't help but wonder like the details of that. You know, kind of.
You know, I think it has something to do with. I think it has something to do with Red Sun.
Really?
Yeah, I think that some of those ideas were Morrison's that they had wanted to do, like just like the general broad strokes of it, and like they were writing stuff together, and then I think Mark just sort of said, I'll just do it myself. I think it was something like that. I don't know. I think that was like the rumor or something at the message board posts that I probably read like 20 years ago or whatever.
I like that. I like that in my head canon because Red Sun is like, to me, like the one just like unimpeachable fucking legit great Mark Millar book to me. Like, I mean, I used to love a lot of his stuff, but like, in hindsight, a lot of his stuff doesn't really hold up the same way for me. But
yeah.
I mean, I loved Wanted when it came out and shit. Like,
he's a fascinating guy, like I said, because I think he represents a lot of like he's always represented a lot of like the sort of more negative strain of comics. Like he's always been a voice for that, like Nemesis, like, oh, this book, like, there's like the superhero guy, like, rigs up a pregnant woman's stomach to explode or something like shit like that, which is like just edgelord kind of shit. Like he's always been the voice for that. But at some point he just became super, super fucking rich. And like, because of one of those things popped off, Kick-Ass or whatever, I probably Wanted and Kick-Ass and whatever. But like,
so this is like, to me, it's just where it's kind of weird to me is because like I had gotten out of comics from a lot of my, like, I guess most of my 20s kind of thing. And then my buddy was like, dude, you got to read this Civil War shit. And he's like, this is unlike anything, you've ever read. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And that pulled me back into comics. I was all, and so like, I do owe that. I don't owe him shit, but I mean, I kind of owe some respect in my mind to him, for just having that effect on me. But like, yeah, I don't know.
I think I did a Civil War episode with Tamara. I think that was the guest for that one. It's so long ago. But
does he love his sexual assault in comics? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, for sure.
That out.
Yeah. And it's not in an intellectual way, like it's more like, sexual assault, crazy,
Well, so let's get to the meat here. The reason that kind of like you came across. Yeah, what the fuck? All right. Like Mark Millar's just on a blocking spree, you know what I mean? Like, and he's appealing to these right wingers who think blocking is just like that's it. That's the the end of the fucking immorality tunnel to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My favorite, I've had a couple reactions that I really liked from people that were like, oh, boo-hoo, you got blocked. But my favorite one was somebody was like, he's really good friends with Frank Quietly. So like now you're kind of fucked because now Frank probably hates you. It's like, you think that's how that works? Frank Quietly knows who I am and likes my art. Like I know that because I've heard it from him.
That's
badass. He was on a podcast and he said it. So like, you think that's how that works? No. Me and Frank are cool. Me and Vin are cool. I don't know him well enough to call him Vin. I would never do that, but we're gonna be all right. I'm not worried about him hating me. There was that one that I thought was really funny. There was somebody who that was me. That was that one of the Niners guy really, really warmed. The Niner one warmed my heart because I'm like, look at that. Niner faithful is over everything. We're just the strongest army in the NFL, fandoms. But like I said to start this thing, none of this shit really mattered. What really got me motivated this week was how I have to finish this fucking cover that I'm working on. That's more important than any of this shit. And I've been focusing way more on drawing this fucking comic book cover than I have like these replies. And they've been crying about it for 3 fucking days or 2 days or however long it's been. I've been in like my own tunnel, but I've been like chilling, watching sports, watching westerns, like living my life. And meanwhile, they're like upset about it and saying that I'm upset about it. And it's like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
If you have
Like
if you have an opinion that counters theirs, you're triggered, man. That's just the only
Yeah, yeah.
fucking yeah.
It's
I,
like
I got your
it's I hate even having to say it because then it's like, oh, you're doing the I'm not mad, and like you're crying inside. I genuinely don't give a fuck. Like I had a few laughs and then I moved on, and then I regretted it only because I just hate giving them content when I don't have to, and it was nice to hear from my boy Richard Myers though. Like,
yeah.
I hadn't. I mean, he
mean,
doesn't
look,
talk to me, but I know he's a fan from a long time ago.
I mean, I know he's like he follows me to some degree because like the first really I've done 2 videos I guess on him, but like the first one really was the real video. Another one was like a stream clip, but like I covered him once and then like and then I did a premiere for my video, right? And it was like a 25 minute video, and as soon as the premiere ended, I got an email from him. Because I'd said that like he had made some kind of donation to I think the Trevor Project. It was like $10,000 or something. I was like, look, man, if he really did that, that's fucking cool. But at the same time, I think that the reason he does shit like, and he's not the only one that's done something like that. I think they do it to kind of just like, yeah, I'll spend $10,000 out of my $1 million I made off of Indiegogo or whatever, so that I can continue fucking being shitty to trans people and I can just show this and go like, look, see. But like I said, I don't even, honestly, I don't even know if he really did donate that. Sure enough, he sent me the fucking receipt. Like as soon as that video was done premiering, the receipt was in my email. I was like, "Look, man, all right, look, I got
Hey, he's on it. Shout out. He might be watching this. Hey, hello, Richard.
What up, dude? Yeah. Last time we talked about him was whenever it came out that he had been like in a porno at one point.
Whoa.
Like he wasn't starring in it, but like it was like him and a bunch of other people standing around some shoe store while this chick was. Well, she wasn't trying on shoes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
Well. If you're watching this, Richard, hello, and I'm sorry that you got surpassed by all these people that you gave them the blueprint and then they just were better than you. I'm sorry about that, because if I like to give credit to the innovators, not the imitators,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
look, he credit, I guess, to him. I mean, that's not something I respect really.
No,
but
I
like,
don't. Right,
but Ethan coming in and saying this is mine now, and him being like, okay, yes, sir. That's pretty cool of him, I suppose. I don't know.
That's he was the man. He was on not Colbert. What was he was on Comedy
Jim
Central.
Jeffries. Jim Jeffries.
He was on the Jim Jeffries show. Ethan wasn't. Now this motherfucker can't get on Tim Pool, and Tim Pool's not Jim Jeffries. Think about that.
No.
I'm just saying, a little like that would sting me a little bit. I would be a little bit like, damn, it's like that. Like I'd be a little haunted by it.
I mean, that's probably like that sting that this kind of weighs him down. That's probably why he can't get any of like, I think he's got maybe 3 or 4 like still overdue campaigns. Maybe that's why he can't get work done. I don't know.
Oh wow.
No, it's been a long. I don't know for sure. It's been a long time since I even looked at his shit. But like when I did cover him, it was because he had launched his 5th campaign when he still had 4 incomplete.
And I'm sure they're on I'm sure they're coming shortly.
Right around the corner.
It's easy to make comics when you're not woke. Because all you care about is making the best quality product, is what I'm told.
Yep, that's it. And then I do have your clip here. So this is the clip that I saw that was like, dude,
this shit is so funny. This
right
clip
before
is fucking hilarious.
Shout out to M3 Writer. He had sent me this, and I was like, I had just woken up that morning, and I was like drinking coffee and shit, and I saw this, and I just fucking started my day off with a laugh because of this, and I was like, I'm gonna invite him on the show.
Hey guys, it's Ramon here, and I just wanted to put out a little video real quick because I was on X.com and something horrible happened. A guy whose work I really love, as long as it's drawn by Frank Quietly, Mark Millar, he blocked me on Twitter. And I'm not joking. Like, I buy everything the man does as long as Frank Quietly draws it. I keep it right next to me just to look at, flip at, just to keep me inspired. I know I have my Authority comic somewhere around here, but I'm such a huge fan, and the fact that, as long as Frank Quietly's drawing him, but the fact that he would block me on Twitter, it just made me think, wow, free speech really is dead. Like, maybe Tucker Carlson, who I know Mark's a big fan of, is right.
Is that
I
right
made
though?
one joke.
Is Mark Millar a big fan of Tucker Carlson?
He had put out some tweets where he was like, "You guys
Oh,
gotta like."
I
yeah.
did see that. Yep. Fuck. Yeah, man. Like, so okay. So here's really kind of what I wanted to get down to is like, we saw this coming to a degree. Like, if you're super surprised by it, I think maybe then you might not have been paying attention, right? Like him, like kind of like appealing to the Comicsgate crowd.
Yeah, he'd been doing that. It was Tucker, and it was like somebody else where he was like, "Wow, this is very insightful. This is actually really cool." And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, but even just like some of the I don't know, takes directions in some of his comics too, like kind of were like they would kind of veer over a little bit left on the, in this regard, a little bit right in this regard, right? Like there was never any clear, I guess, I don't know. It wasn't clear what he believed and when he was just being cynical or shocking to just be cynical and shocking, or when, you know, I don't know. I think I'm going to go back and look through a bunch of his stuff that I haven't read in years and just kind of re-examine it with fresh eyes and see what I can see, you know. As long as Frank Quietly's drawn it, you know.
As long as Frank Quietly's drawing it is like the key, because even then it's like a little boring, like his writing, but the art is so fucking good. And you know, if there's one thing that he has is money to pay really good artists,
right?
And so he worked with a lot of them. You know, some people are like, "Oh, you'll never work with him." It's like, yeah, I probably wouldn't before because he works with really, really good artists. Like, it's like I think we talked about it earlier. Like, I have a pretty realistic viewpoint of who I am and how good I am, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not like Frank Quietly and like these other motherfuckers. I mean, working with him.
To be
I'm
honest,
probably not Travis Charest. It's gonna be okay. I'll find.
I kind of like your stuff better than Quietly's, to be honest. You know, I'm not
that's fucked up, dude.
I'm universally known around here as like not being the biggest Quietly fan. It's not. Look, it's not that I think the guy's not talented. The guy is super talented. It's just like I don't know. It's like it doesn't hit me right. Usually, sometimes I don't know. Man, I'm an asshole, I guess.
It's crazy. I mean, he's literally the best to ever do it, in my opinion. This A doesn't stand for abortion.
That's his politics. Yeah, Strange Brain Parts is dope. I need to reach out to him and see what, you know, if he's a cool guy or something. But his videos are cool. Yeah. So this comment here, I started looking into this stuff. I started looking into like, what has he said prior to this, you know, recent stuff about like the state of the comic book industry and whatnot. And I just kind of, you know, I start thinking about this stuff and I wonder, what is the motivation? Like, is there something else that precipitated this type of, you know, almost like he has to be aware enough to know that responding favorably to Ethan Van Sciver is going to come with some kind of presumptions, right?
You think he does though? He might. He might, but like he also, he's in a bubble where he doesn't have to give a shit about any of that. You know what I mean? Like he has his own money. He's good. Like, you know.
Yeah, I guess he's been rich for long enough that like,
yeah,
you know, and the reason he's rich, the thing that he's good at, just like in my opinion, objectively, is like he's a good like kind of high concept guy, right? Like he comes up with fucking dope ass concepts for stuff, and then like. And he, you know, he's clearly enthusiastic about it, and he's able to, you know, and his shit's genuinely fun. Even if it's like a story that I think is like this story goes off the rails or whatever, it's like it's usually still pretty fucking fun. And he's also completely willing to, like, he's not attached to the details of something, so that if he'll option something to be adapted, he doesn't give a shit. It's like you look at Wanted from the book to the movie, and it's like he's just like, yeah, fuck it, change everything basically.
Right.
And it worked out. So. You know, he's a salesman. Yeah, sure. You know, and that's kind of like it gets into this whole. I mean, if you paid attention to the Ripaverse stuff, there's been this ongoing conversation because Eric Schleich very clearly doesn't give much of a shit about, you know, story, characterization, lore, you know, like really even art, anything. Like he says he does. He pays lip service to that stuff, but what he talks about most of the time is fucking money, and it's like that's the part of the, you know, like. Yeah, it's important to, you know, obviously need to make money to be a healthy industry or project or whatever, but like this, the least interesting part to me. You know, it's the last thing I really want to just have a big conversation about, you know what I mean? And there's some people that just seem to really prioritize that aspect of comics. I don't get it. But so this I found. Why has so yeah, this just kind of went under the radar. I feel like this was December 6th, right? Bleeding Cool. This is why Netflix moved Miller World from Image Comics to Dark Horse. I don't know if you probably caught that, right?
Mm-mm.
So for anybody that's not aware, Miller World is obviously Mark Millar's, fucking his imprint or whatever. And he sold it to Netflix, or at least I guess made some kind of deal for several years for Netflix to kind of run the show back in 2017. I think he got something like, I don't know, 16 something $million. It probably says this in the article here. 25 million. Yeah. Netflix owns Miller World, the first content company that they actually bought for around 25 million. Netflix licenses all its intellectual property for comic books to Dark Horse Comics, such as Stranger Things, Masters of the Universe, The Witcher, while adapting any Dark Horse comic books to the screen, such as Polar, Usagi Yojimbo, Chicken Hair, and Umbrella Academy, with the likes of Bang, Mind, MGMT, Revenge Inc., and Lady Killer. So it seems like they just like Netflix decided that they wanted to kind of like bring all this shit under the same roof. And I'm trying to figure out what the causation would be, but it kind of stands out that this was just announced on December 6th, right? And that he would then start kind of making some, I don't know, specific moves. But I'll start putting the conspiracy together in the background. So anyway.
Sorry. The Warriors lost in overtime. It was a disaster of a game. I'm back.
Sorry to hear,
man. No. But sorry, I didn't mean to leave you hanging like that. I was listening to you. My mind was in a dark place for like half a second. See, like I said earlier on Twitter, motherfuckers think that what they really like, the way to get to me is like insult like my career or my appearance. I don't give a shit. You insult the Warriors. You just bring up the fact that they're a broken team, and that's gonna, like, you saw how out of it I was. I was just like, fuck me. But anyways, I'm back. I've already put that game behind me. We got more games ahead of us. But no, yeah, like the Dark Horse thing is like I don't really know if Mark Millar moves comics like that. And I found it weird because I listened to a little bit of the conversation he had with that guy. Look at Stratton Knight asked the same thing, right? I was like, I don't know if they even sell like that hot.
I don't think so, man.
He asked the same question to that dude where he was like, what do you think would help sell comics? And somebody else was talking about this recently, and I remember the example was like, if Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely did Spider-Man, that would sell crazy. Everybody would buy it. If like Bendis wrote Batman and they had Jim Lee drawing it, then comics would be saved. And it's like they've done all those permutations already. I mean, like, except for Quietly drawing like a monthly comic, this is not going to happen.
We just had Capullo and fucking McFarlane, was it McFarlane? Shit, just got back, did a
Batman Spawn.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And like it didn't really didn't fucking move. It didn't become like the next the new hot thing or whatever. That's like, I don't think that's just like an archaic way to think about it, honestly.
They just had Silvestri Batman comic come out that he's been working on for like forever. It's beautiful. Yeah. I love that book. The way it looks, it's amazing. Didn't change anything. It didn't make anything, it didn't save comics, and that's what they say they want. But like yeah, their solutions for these things are just they are specifically designed so where it's like in sports, there are these guys that'll say like, well, this quarterback sucks, and anything short of him winning a Super Bowl, it's going to be vindication that their take of him sucking was right the whole time. This is the same thing. They say if Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely drew Spider-Man, everybody would buy it. And short of that actually happening, anything that the industry does, it doesn't matter. They'll just say it's in a free fall. The same thing with the comic book movies. They've been saying since fucking Black Panther and before that every single one is woke and they're dog shit and they're gonna bomb. and they didn't because people like watching them. And then the Marvels came out, movie looked like shit. Nobody went and saw it. And they're like, see, we've been right about woke movies this whole time. It's like,
Right.
no, you haven't. Like,
Yeah. You say it about every movie, so eventually, yeah, you're gonna get something right.
Eventually,
right?
you know, it's like they can make these base accusations, be wrong about it forever, and just say they're right. But like, I found it interesting that Mark and that dude had that conversation where they said the same thing, but I can't remember who was saying it before. Of like, the way to save comics is to put like all these huge names on the books. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that sound familiar?
I mean, I know that Mark Millar said it, but other than that,
Mark said it recently, but it was somebody else's take recently. Anyways, it was weird. You know, the other one that I do wonder about is I wonder why Gale was so quick to be like riding with this dude. Gale, because Gale.
You mean the comic shop owner guy?
Yeah, the comic shop owner. That I guess Gale's just nice, but
yeah, she is. I think she's trying to maybe do the you know, like maybe that she's seen that this guy's just kind of probably, I don't know, doesn't know what he got pulled into, because I mean she knows about Ethan and shit. She knows what's up with Comicsgate for sure,
right?
And like I don't know, maybe she's just trying to like present a hey, you know, you're gonna get fucked over, so here, you know, here's a hand. I don't know, who knows.
She's cool. She'll see some of my tweets when I'm going crazy sometimes and like message me and be like, this is amazing. Made me laugh so hard. I'm like, oh, thanks, Gail. Yeah. But she's cool. But like that one it surprised me because it's not like she just like kind of did one tweet. She's been like kind of writing for him. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Why? Who cares?
We just
not even him on Twitter.
On my oh shit. On my my podcast, Forced Adversity podcast, a couple weeks ago, we did actually, was it last Friday? We did a deep dive into Ethan Van Sciver, who I hadn't covered in a long time, but like, I don't know if you saw that clip of going around of him with saying that shit about Mark Brooks. Did you see that? No,
you had Mark on the show, right?
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Mark. I mean, I don't know Mark all that well. Oh, yeah. I think we probably he's another guy who we're not going to agree on everything politically, but you know, he seems like a nice man.
He's a very good dude. And like, honestly, you know, and I brag about this as much as I can. He reached out to me wanting to come on to my show, and he was already like one of my favorite, you know, as far as cover artists go, he's my guy. But like, you know, having him reach out to me and say, hey, I want to come on and talk about this stuff, was like, holy shit. Yeah, of course.
That's cool. Shout out to Mark. He's got a beautiful goatee.
True.
And like, he's always had great facial hair. Oh, he said Islamophobic things before?
I'm not aware of it.
Giving us,
I'll have to look into it.
Gossip. He's a funny man. I mean, like, not the Islamophobia. That's wrong.
Well, I mean, one thing I'd say that I obviously don't know the guy, but like from what I do know, I feel like if you presented him with the context of something that he wasn't aware might, you know, be Islamophobic, that he'd probably at least fucking consider that shit. Like, I don't think that he's just like, I fucking hate Islam people or anything like that. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's like, I've had so many run-ins with so many dudes like of that age range, and like that's what I was saying before. Like, it's so funny that half of these people are going to be like, Ramon is a soy cuck beta whatever, and then on the other side they're like, that guy is a menace, he needs to be stopped, he's alt-right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure at some point I said something and Mark Brooks wanted to like fucking block me because he thought I was like on the other side of it, but you know, he seems like a nice guy. I don't know. I've never met him personally, but I know he rides hard for this shit, you know?
I mean, yeah, he's you know, he was nothing but friendly to me, and
shout out.
He definitely doesn't like Ethan Van Sciver, you know?
Yeah. Have to see what he thinks about Muslims. I'm gonna do some deep diving after this.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I had no idea, man. I will definitely look into that. Seriously, didn't know.
See what's up.
But like, yeah, so this is something that was sent to me just a few minutes ago. I'm hoping M3 writer that this is relevant to the conversation because he sent it to me during the stream. So
is it canceling me?
Nah.
Will they find out what I said about white people?
I saw what you said about white people. I saw it. FEMA camps and shit. Wow, man.
I stand by it.
I mean, to be honest, we probably deserve it. I'll be honest.
Comicsgate seal. He says, I think he acknowledges the very few talented women who have worked in the industry. Anyone who loves comics knows they are hard to ignore. He's not talking about those women here, but I think you know that 100%. Thank you.
That's why I said most, not all.
Right, most women, like the vast majority.
Who
here's
is he
the thing, like
talking
when
to?
Dan DiDio cut it down.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. A Turner. Anybody know who that is at all?
The man looks like an SJW. He's got a haircut not befitting of a normal man. He's got a lumberjack shirt on. I don't get it.
I cannot hit that tone just right.
The
I don't know,
vocal
man.
fry.
You got it. If somebody said before, and this may be kind of mean, I don't know, but like somebody said once, and I laughed my fucking ass off, that he sounds like he's laying down on his back drinking gravy all the time.
Whoa, that's fat phobic. That's wrong.
Is it? Is that what it is? Okay, yeah, all right.
I've learned that in the last couple of days. You shouldn't do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to insult the man's appearance. I'm only going to try and talk like him because that is what the right thing to do is to people.
Dude, you are so lucky, man. Like, holy shit.
I could do that?
No, I was talking about Bat Dad here.
Oh, he's never heard of
them.
He's a liar, dude. Come on. Everyone knows EBS. He's the man. He's all cap comics.
Right. He's got the artist secrets, the pro secrets.
We have to know about him. He's artist pro secrets.
So like I debunked his ass. Like, this told me everything I need to know about him. Like I started off my channel thinking I'm going to make a video kind of, exposing some of this bullshit he's saying. And I made a video, first video I made. And I was thinking maybe in a couple of years, if I get really good at this, Ethan will see it and like respond or something. Nope. First video I fucking ever mentioned him. He's like that night he's streaming it and shit and like, whatever. And he's eventually I made one because he made a claim in like 2019, I think. So this was when DC had announced or there was a leaks or whatever about 5G, right? Mm-hmm. And which never came to pass because that was a Dan DiDio thing and he got fucking shit canned and that didn't happen. None of it happened. But instead was
shame,
like,
by the way, because I was set to profit a little bit out of that, but go continue.
Instead it was like ended up being an infinite frontier or whatever. But like, so his claim that all the fucking CHUD websites, the Bounding into Comics and Cosmic Book News and stuff, they ran with it. Were like that if 5G isn't successful, DC is going to stop printing comic books. That was the claim. And he said he heard it from some fucking high up source or whatever inside DC. And I was like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. It's just, he didn't hear that. I don't think that he heard that, period. And even if, if he did, then I'll admit if I'm wrong, but like he's lied so much before that I just don't have any reason to think that that's true. But so what ended up happening, as we know, is that 5G never fucking happened. And what did happen was Infinite Frontier, and then like kind of was Future State was kind of like two-pronged thing they did.
Right.
And they were generally, I think, pretty successful. Like they did pretty well. Kind of like pulled them up.
I've always been bad at knowing sales. But I just don't. But
so
continue.
He showed up in my comments, after I, like a year later or something. He's in my comments saying, so I guess I was right after all. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like none of the things you said were even happened or true. Like, and he's like, yeah, I'm right. And then all his fans are like, yeah, he's right. He's, hail Caesar and all this bullshit. I'm like, you fucking people are nuts. Anyway,
the problem is you're being intellectually disingenuous. I was right. You were wrong. And you can't admit it because you're soy and SJW and you know it.
I got a really good EVS moment if you want to see him kind of get fucking exposed in a live situation.
I mean, it's hard to see it because that is my Caesar, but you heard how much I love the man. I could do his voice like dead on.
Let's see if I got it here. If I'm gonna have
a labor of love.
Oh, so here's the thing that he said that really made I was like, you know what, fuck this. We're doing a deep dive into Ethan on my podcast because this just set me off, man.
I don't want pedophiles to target our children. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they target Mark Brooks's children.
Oh, I did hear this. I thought it was wrong, but imagine if he would have said something truly heinous about this man, Mark Brooks. Imagine if he sat there and called him a sausage-breathed hog. Now that would be beyond the line of civil discourse. That would be wrong. But what he said was that he wanted another man's children hurt, and that's normal. That's a normal thing to say. He's normal.
It's just joking, right? Like it's clearly just a joke.
That's just a hilarious bit,
The classic bit.
it's not like right wing extremists are known for like actually carrying some of that stuff out, right? It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, nobody would. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I hope nothing happens to Mark Brooks kids. I just want to
Me
say
too,
that.
man. Me fucking too. Yeah, I mean, to any kid, really. Like,
you know,
all.
when I did that EVS episode of my podcast, I don't think I did the voice because I don't think I really had like heard it in a while, so I didn't want to like put myself out there and try it. Now I don't care, but at the time I was like, what if I fail at doing the voice? But I remember thinking like, is he gonna hear this and like talk shit to me? And I had already blocked him like years ago just because I didn't want to see his tweets. They just would like whatever. Like I just didn't want to see him on my feed. And then I thought it was funny because I know how mad people get when other people block them. Like when Mark Millar blocked me, it's furious. So I wondered if he would be like reactive to it, and he wasn't. The only person who really got mad at me back then, you know, is Dan Slott got really fucking pissed at me.
Why?
Because I did an episode because I live in Stockton, California, and Dan Slott's from here, right? So I did it was right when do you remember when that documentary thing came out? It was like a half an hour of like him being late on deadlines, went on like Disney Plus to show like the world of Marvel Comics. You don't remember this?
No.
Okay, well it happened.
Wow. Okay.
And it was, you know, people were joking about it because it was like, man, this motherfucker has like like Christos Gage ghostwrite the 616 doc. Thank you, Stratton.
Okay.
It was just like, it was like a weird story where it was like him kind of bumbling around being like, you know, a goofy little guy, and it was clearly fake. Like it was clearly scripted to be like, is he going to hit the deadline? Is he going to hit the deadline? Oh, he did it. Yay. Now he gets to go out and sign comics at the shop. And at the same time, it was when he had done a story where Franklin Richards they told him he wasn't a mutant, and it was like upsetting to fans of Franklin Richards who had identified him as like part of the LGBTQ community, and like his reaction to it was like childish. Dan's was of like, he just said it wasn't like that because for his story, but didn't care that fans had attached this thing to it. So I brought on somebody to talk about that. And the one thing was like, when that documentary came out, everybody was saying, this isn't the real Dan, this is fake, this is fake. So I'm like, okay, well, what is the real Dan Slott? And I found an interview with him on EVS's podcast back before he was Comicsgate. Whoa. And I was like, oh wow. And he was talking about, he's from Stockton, and his dad worked at the Shell chemical plant in Modesto. And like I said, I'm from here, right? So I was like, well, what were they doing? What were they making? Because Shell's like an oil company. What were they making in Modesto? I was like, oh, pesticides. That's crazy. I wonder if those pesticides were like those famously cancer-causing chemicals, right? And it was like, oh, they are. And I wonder if, you know, any of those chemicals were dropped on people in my community, because I'm from the same area, Mexican. A lot of people that I would have known would have been pickers back then, like my grandma, my uncles, my aunts, everybody, right? So I was like, you know, I was drawing those connective threads, not really saying like his dad gave them cancer but saying like it's an interesting way to look at the world the way he was, which was like where he grew up was like a very nice Pleasantville sort of like a nice Pleasantville sort of like picturesque small town suburb. Like the way I saw it was completely different. And you know, I was just saying like how that's how imperialism works. And like, you know, it was a Thanksgiving episode that we did, and I was explaining, you know, American imperialism. And anyways, I had tweeted that part out, and he didn't like it, so he blocked everybody involved with it. But you know, that's fine. I get it why he would do that, you know. But I did say like, you know, that's not the real Dan Slott. Maybe this is the real Dan Slott, where he's talking for like 3 hours to EVS on his podcast. This wasn't like before EVS was known to be sort of like this sort of controversial right-wing figure. It was after, but they were still friends. So I was like, you know,
did Dan Slott say some super cringe shit or what? Like
on that episode?
Yeah.
No, like, because this was when EVS was like well known to be right wing, but it was like I think not when he had like fully jumped over the shark to being like just a, you know, like
Before he went
saying
full crazy pants. Yeah.
saying the wild shit like out loud. Like, you know, I'm sure he said it on like the Facebook videos. Like, you know, he used to do you remember when he used to do like Wolverine is gay and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, do I remember? I've actually got a version of that song. I covered that song and
Oh,
fucking
for
got
real?
a full band version and sang it and everything.
Oh my
Got a
God.
music video. Yeah. My goal was to make it
that's spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, I took it and I basically like, cause there's a couple of kind of homophobic lyrics in there and, you know, the suggestions of what's being said in there. So I just basically kind of tweaked those and made it, you know, not homophobic. And then I made the song better in every single way. So,
oh, wow. Do you remember when Mignola got really mad at him?
Maybe
that was one of my favorite. That was like old EVS lore. That was one of my favorite times because it was like Mignola had just posted on Facebook, like, he just posted like, oh, I was at this con and some asshole across from me wouldn't stop playing a piano and singing like a, you know, really obnoxiously. And everybody knew it was EVS, like everybody, but he didn't say his name. And then EVS, like he could not help himself. He had to be like, fuck you. Everybody loved it. Like we all had a great time. You were the only one who didn't like it, you know? And like now tabling at shows, I'm like, God, that would annoy me so much if some dude was like playing a piano behind me on like a little keyboard.
So fucking sensitive, man. Like so thin skinned for somebody that's just constantly on the attack.
Yeah.
You know, and Air July is the same way too. So like it's they're two peas in a pods for sure.
Yeah, the EVS, like I said, like I've long been fascinated with him just because so much of like my early love of comics was like inexplicably tied to that. And like when I did the episode for the podcast about Green Lantern Rebirth, I like found the comic that, you know, like to read it and it was signed by him. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot I got this motherfucker to sign this. Like I did not even remember that. Like, but yeah, you know, like it was like so bizarre to think of like where he's at now, this figure that he is, you know? Do I remember what?
When Ethan, the whole thing with with Darwin Cooke's wife, his widow. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. I know. I remember that happening, but I don't. You know, I don't know. I don't even. I genuinely don't know EVS. Like, okay. I don't think I've ever said like 2 words to him or the other way.
Yeah, I mean, me either. Really, not like directly, like through videos.
I thought he emailed you and stuff. Or no, that was Richard.
That was Richard Meyer. Yeah. No, so like, there was the whole thing that happened was for anybody that's not aware. Darwin Cooke, fantastic creator who passed away from cancer way too young. You know, was it like 2017, maybe 18 that he died. And like, and so this thing that Comicsgate does now and then, they'll just say somebody, some, you know, name creator is like, they'll say they are Comicsgate or they're friendly with Comicsgate or whatever, even though that person has never said anything about it, right? And that puts that person in a position to either have to go, fuck no, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not part of whatever, which makes them a target of Comicsgate. And then they get pulled into this fucking, you know, grift cycle, or they just have to, you know, say, yeah. And then that's how you get your Tucci's and your, you know, your, I covered the other day, what's his name? Keown, Dale Keown. He's not in great shape. You know, so that's how those end up happening, I think. But like, so this time it was about, Ethan said it about Darwin Cooke after he was dead, and his wife, his widow, came out and was like, no, he was not fucking. He thought she got. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she just roundly rejected and said
he pulled the when Justin Bieber said that Anne Frank would have been a believer. Remember that iconic moment for the Biebs. Anyways, yeah, he did that, and then she said no. Not true.
And then she's fucking got harassed because it's just what they do. You know what I mean? Right. Anybody that's like had any kind of like awareness of them knows that's what they do, even though they still deny it. So one of my guys, my buddies that's in this initiative project with me, that, you know, we do similar content, Organized Chaos. He debated Ethan a little over a year ago. Like I told him he shouldn't, because I don't think there's any point in debating people who are just so willing to fucking lie. But you know, he did it and got some good moments, including this one.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about this. Any of this.
I said, Marsha, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing, but out of Darwin's memory, I am not going to fight back. If you feel the need, because she blamed me for that. And she tried to call a harassment army, the likes of which I have not experienced before or since.
Yeah, this poor widow who's got no platform, really. You know what I mean? Like, she called a harassment army on Ethan Van Sciver. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, so fucking sick.
Against me, saying that I was claiming her husband, her deceased husband, Darwin Cooke, was Comicsgate. That was a lie.
Well,
I didn't say that. Mark, understand, you people lie. I did not say that. Billy did.
So have you ever said that he's Comicsgate?
No.
So you've never ever
I'm not
said
saying
he's
it
been
now.
Comicsgate?
No.
All right, this is interesting.
I don't
Here's a
think
tweet
so.
from you. Have fun scraping work in a dead industry that if you suck enough corporate dick, you'll be able to earn in a lifetime what I earn drawing frogs independently. By the way, Darwin Cooke was
show
Comicsgate.
it. Bring it up.
Yeah, guess what, Ethan?
What's that?
What you just did was called a lie.
Fucking priceless moment, in my opinion.
He got that shit-eating grin on his face real fast. He was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yep, it's the only way out.
Yeah.
I mean,
if that happened to me, I would probably do the same thing.
What can you do at that point?
Well, I lie sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll be like, I didn't call him a sausage breath pig or whatever, a hog. But the thing is, I did, but I know I did, and I said it was wrong of me to do that. I shouldn't have done that. That man didn't deserve that.
I got to give credit to Reggie Sketchy Got Hands here, because that was actually a collab that Organized Chaos didn't know the details of that whole thing. He was just he kind of vaguely knew this, and at the time that he was asking him about it, and Ethan said no, he's telling him that bullshit story. Reggie fucking messages me and he's like, dude, here, you got to get this to him. And it was like that screenshot, and I was like, oh shit. And it was like a fucking Mission Impossible movie going on behind the scenes there. And I was like, please, I was like messaging the shit out of him in Discord, hoping he saw the notifications. But yeah, it was good.
It's hilarious. Yeah, to think of, like, he had it made so hard. Like, he was doing those like Black Lantern designs and all that stuff where like all he had to do was just draw the thing, and now you have to do an interior pages, which I know he hates doing because it's hard to do. He didn't have to do that. Like, he had it made, and he was like, you know what? I cannot help being a dickhead. Which, it's a little bit of a cautionary tale. It makes me be like, I shouldn't say anything about that motherfucker, but of like not him, but like the retailer guy, because that's why that shit is wrong. Like, but I would say I'm wrong. He is incapable of saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, Julia, chill the fuck out, please.
Who's that?
Just somebody in chat. They got to tell them to chill the fuck out sometimes.
Oh, okay.
No, not one of your
Chat.
folks. It's
Settle
one of my
down,
regulars.
chat.
One of my regulars. They get a little
people.
they get a little hot about some of this CHUD stuff because sometimes these people suck, and just can't be getting too over the line on certain things. But anyway, yeah, man. I don't know, man. What else do we want to talk about here?
Well, I am curious about like the channel that you have. Like I said, I've been following, but the algorithm stuff, sometimes I just don't watch the videos because I just don't see them. But like, I wish sometimes, because sometimes when I will click on it, I'm like, I don't understand the context of this. I know it's hard, but like, that would be my one thing of like, man, I wish sometimes he would add a little bit of context, but I know it's like hard because you just cut stream clips, right?
So no, I mean, this is brilliant. Like, great feedback. I'd love to be able to know what I could do to like make it more accessible, because I'm like, basically what I feel like there's so much stuff that I deal with that you kind of have to have some level of awareness of these certain things to even give a shit about certain videos. You know what I mean?
Right. No, exactly.
And if I can find a way to kind of like reduce that gap, then I mean, shit, I want to.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my one thing, was because I mentioned that I had seen the video, but sometimes I'll like watch like a few minutes of it or like, seconds of it. And my attention span will just be like, I don't know what this is. Okay. I'll just watch something else. You know what I mean? But yeah. I know it's tough because like you're at this point, your channel's so in the weeds of it. Right. But I do think it is genuinely a good thing, being a counterbalance to that. And I know it's like a little thankless because it's not like you're getting the most views, and like you said, it's the algorithm prefers other other types of content, more right-wing based content. But you know, I'm interested in it just because, like I told you before the stream, I think like I am so like online about shit like that. I'm rooting for you is what I'm saying. Like,
I
you know, keep
appreciate it,
up the
man.
good fight. You know, like when I started my podcast, which again I hate to say currently on hiatus podcast, but when I started it, the idea was to try to build sort of a different side of the voice, like a different like the right wing can't own that space, right? Like just giving it to them feels a little wrong because there is so many other voices on the other side of it. So I was like, you know, I'll talk about these comics with a sort of left-leaning perspective, inject my politics, my beliefs into it. And honestly, when I make comics, that's what I want to do too. And it's not really like the one thing I did want to discuss a little bit is like, so I'm talking to you about this from your side, which is like somebody who takes in the content, but somebody who like makes the content, somebody who like these people have like a picturesque idea of in their head of like what kind of evil person I am to want to inject my politics into comics. I think like it would be interesting to have a conversation for a little bit about like the difference between what I want to do when I say like I want to make content with like a political message, and what they think. Like the disconnect there is like I don't want to make it because I want to like hammer it into people's head this is the right way to think. I want to make it because that's a point of view of a story. You know what I mean? Like that's
100%.
like Grapes of Wrath. It has a political message, and they don't teach it because they want kids to be socialist. They teach it because it's a work of art that was made by a socialist. And like, I think it's an interesting like disconnect with them, because to them propagandizing is good and it's right. And that's why when right-wing media comes out, it's blatant and obvious.
Lady
and what
Ballers.
Lady Ballers is what I was thinking of, you know, but when, you know, and I like some right-wing content, if I'm being honest. Like I like some Westerns that are not made by fucking liberals. You know what I mean? I like a lot of them.
What's that one director's name? That filmmaker, he made Brawl in Cell Block 99 and like Bone Tomahawk. Like he's straight up.
I know.
Right winger.
I haven't seen the. I saw Bone Tomahawk and I didn't love it, but I'm supposed to watch the other ones because I heard they're good despite that. But like I love Charles Bronson. I watched like 20 something Charles Bronson movies here. I love Death Wish. You don't get more right wing than Death Wish. But what I love about it is you can pick apart that material, that story, and see what they're saying about society, even if it's through a right wing lens. And then that's why when you read, like when you see Predator, and I remember people said like Prey was woke, but Predator was literally the same movie, just wasn't a woman. You know, it's like the way these people are getting mad about fucking Grand Theft Auto, like it's the same shit. Craig Zoller.
So I've got, if you speaking of my content, since we're gonna do that, well, I'll do it. I don't mind. I got no shame.
Yeah.
I've got some of my earliest videos that were, you know, kind of like, you know, ones that I'm really proud of still, were like about the Punisher and the police issue. So it was literally called the Punisher Police Problem way back here. And it was 2 parts originally, where like I go into the history of the Punisher, the lore of the Punisher, like what the Punisher was meant to represent, right? And then like then going on from there, the history of like how it became associated first with like, you know, Afghanistan military men over there fighting and shit, and then they come home and they become cops, and that becomes a, you know what I mean? And like, so the Punisher is a character that was created, you know, to be studied as like this is a bad outcome, right? Like this character is not someone to idolize or worship or whatever. I think the fucking problem comes from reactionary minded people don't engage with things on anything except a literal level. And I don't mean to generalize so much, but I mean, like, for the most part, that seems to be the case. Like they often don't get satire. They often I mean, like, what was it, like The Boys? It was like season 3 whenever a whole bunch of them started finally figuring out that Homelander was supposed to be like representing Trump and MAGA and shit. You know what I mean? And they're like, what? No. And then, you know, finally, like, they've been watching for 3 seasons and enjoying it. And then suddenly it kind of, they made it a little bit too obvious or something. But like, yeah, they don't, it's just the way of viewing the world, I think, that kind of separates, and it seems like simplistic and obvious, but yeah, like maybe it's like a media literacy type thing.
It is definitely that, you know, and it's I don't think it's strictly just right-wing people that do that. I think that in fairness, there are people that would consider themselves on like my side of the aisle that when they make comics, it is like a soapbox, you know, Denny O'Neil, that's a soapbox ass comic. But you know, some of the newer books that these people would be mad about, like you know, oh, there's a character called Safe Space. It's like, yeah, that is a little cringe, you know. Like when I did that book Border Town, which you asked me if I would mind talking about it, you know, but when I did that book, I like, to be perfectly frank, when they put me on it with the guy, I was a co-creator of it, but the guy had already pitched it, and what I wanted to bring to it was I want to make a teen horror comic, right? I want to make that right there. Like when I sent them that, ironically, I was like, I want to do a cover that's like Mike Turner's Teen Titans #1. I just want all these kids looking cool as shit, you know? And which is funny because I told you how much I hated Mike Turner, but I love the Teen Titans cover. Like now I love his work, but that was literally the reference point for that was I just want to do like a Mike Turner kind of like cool ass cover with all these kids. And the writer, who is an awful human being that I did not want to work with after, you know, I found out what, you know, for those who don't know, he was accused of doing sexual assault, and everything that he had done and said made me believe that he did it. Like, you know, I didn't see it, but I believe that he did it because of the way he behaved, the way he, you know, lied about before, after, during, like not just that, but other things.
Yeah.
But so the point is that book was very heavily about Latino culture, Latinx culture, some people would say, right? And I am born, raised Mexican American, and when I want to put that into it, I want to do it in subtle ways. Like that kid, the clothes that kid is wearing is like almost like the look of a young Mexican skater and a young Mexican musician that I love, that not a lot of people know. His name is like Los Retros. He's just like a, you know, bedroom pop singer songwriter guy. I wanted to mix in stuff that is relevant to young people, and young people thought that they saw themselves in that comic, which is not usually the thing that happens in mainstream comic books, right?
Right.
So like when people think, oh, this comic isn't for me, a little bit, you know, but some of my favorite movies are horror movies that didn't represent a youth culture that I was part of, and I still thought they were fucking cool. Like when I watched Carrie from the 70s, I wasn't around the 70s. I thought that shit looked fun and cool. So like this book right here, when it was coming out, there's a big emphasis on how Latino the characters were. And if I'm being honest, I didn't like it because I didn't like that the story was, here is the representation. I wanted it to be organic, right? And I think that just as a creator, that's something that I try to be very mindful of, is I don't want it to be influences of my politics or my identity in any way that is like obvious and the point of it, right? It can be flavoring on it though, because that's my perspective as a human being.
Right.
So when that guy in that video said that he doesn't want to see that, like a person's humanity in the book, to me that doesn't make sense, because that was always there. Like people have always reflected, like when I see like Joe Kubert comics of Hawkman in the 60s, these motherfuckers are dressed like in the most amazing clothes. And that's because Joe Kubert clearly had an eye for that kind of thing. There were other artists who didn't, and they didn't dress as good in those comics. Yeah. So like as a creator, it does frustrate me a little bit when people on the right or on the left think that when you make a comic, the point is to just be like representative one for one of a person's personal experiences, but it should influence it the same way. When I watch Death Wish, I know that, or a better example, when I watch this movie called Kinjite, which is another Charles Bronson movie, Kinjite, the Forbidden Subject, it was J. Lee Thompson who did Death Wish 4. Okay. When he makes that movie, the character of Charles Bronson is like a racist, like anti-Asian Asian, like he hates Japanese people, and he has to like protect the Japanese girl, and it's fascinating to see if it's made from a right-wing perspective, the story regardless.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that people, like you said, reactionaries, they can't look at that and think, wow, this is an interesting piece of art that isn't made for me. It's just something that is wrong and is, anathema to my worldview, so it must be trash. Whereas I would see, I have a bunch of comics. I have the Sarah Palin. I have a Sarah Palin comic. I have Ronald Reagan's Raiders. I have a bunch of political.
I used to have a Pope John Paul II Marvel comic. I don't know if you knew there was one of those. I used to have that.
I did on one of my podcasts. I did this one that was like fucking insane called Rush Limbaugh Must Die. It was a Boneyard Press book, and it was like you would think it's like from like it's like anti right wing, and it is because they don't like Rush Limbaugh, but it's also like extremely homophobic and racist and like fucked up for like a different way. And like I'm like, this is fascinating that somebody made this, right? So it's a little like as a creator, as somebody who puts stuff out, it's sometimes a little disheartening that the people that get it on the other side don't engage with it as more than a vessel for like story content. You know what I mean?
So I have a question about that, because like this is something I noticed around whenever the Eternals movie came out, which not really about the movie itself, but like I
reviewed it and I hated it. You can listen to all the reasons why I hate it.
But aside from the fact that we have different opinions and yours is wrong, whenever that movie was coming out, the YouTube chud started talking about how they're talking about how it's just the wokest, most diverse movie ever. Marvel's putting out and I'm just like, wait a second. In none of the trailers, in none of any of the marketing for that movie, do they say anything about any of that shit, right?
Yeah.
It was all media outlets that were talking about that shit, and it's like, do you think that that's kind of like the primary thing? So like even if the Marvel or whatever publisher or studio or whatever puts something out, and they're trying to present it as like, these are just the perspectives. These are just happen to be the colors of the character, whatever the hell. And like, then the media fucking takes that shit and kind of just, even left-wing media will just like, oh, look how diverse it is, right?
Yeah.
Marvel's most diverse thing. And then the chuds and whatnot, just, they don't distinguish, it seems like. And they're just like, oh, look, I don't know. Do you notice anything like that? Or do you feel like it's like often the content producers that are kind of
well, so in this case with Bordertown, as an artist, all I have control about is what you see, not the words that are on the page. So there's a page that was like, I remember people mocked it. I privately was like, oh God, but like the character stands up, he goes, I'm Mexican, and I was like, God, that's not sick. Like that when I drew it, I knew that he was going to make a declarative statement because that was in the script, but I thought it was filler where he's going to say, I'm half Mexican or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, but when the book came out, this writer, Eric, he had told DC, like, can we make chips and salsa be part of the marketing for it? Because I think they had just done pancakes that they had sent out to people for like before or for the Watchmen book that Jeff Johns did.
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
what the name of it was, but they sent out
Rorschach.
No, it wasn't.
That was Tom King. It was a Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock. Thank you. I was looking over because I have it right there. But yeah. So they send over like pancakes and shit. So like when our book came out, he was like, "Is there any way we can do like chips and salsa?" So they sent people that. And then when he got canceled, rightfully, by the way, because he's a danger to society, I think. He started saying that he was tokenized by DC, that they sent out chips and salsa, and it's like, motherfucker, you're the one who asked for the chips and salsa. And like, to me, like when I see that, I'm like, come on, man, like be honest with yourself. Like, what you wanted to do was to make this a culture war thing, and you didn't want to tell a good story. And like, I hate to throw a collaborator under the bus, except for in this case where he's like an awful, awful human being. So I don't really care as much, but I think that there are some creators who want to exploit identity for money. Not all of them, but when you
They're
are
happy.
reactionary, it's a better thing to do is to say they're all like that instead of saying here's a couple bad ones and here's why. You just say they're all like that. If I see a black Iron Man girl, it's all bad, regardless of how the fuck it looks, how it reads, what the story is. And, you know, although I haven't read right-wing comics, whenever I see clips of it, like, you know, like floating online, I'm like, yeah, it's probably the same. Like it's, you know, it's them trying to make a statement about their worldview. It's not a story. And it's interesting to have that perspective, which is what the one that they say they have, right? Like
they project
that's what they would say.
Like everything
they
is
would
projectional.
say, they might clip this thing that I said if they watch this and be like, see, we were right. They are all like this. But I'm here to tell you that I'm the exact same kind of like blue-haired liberal fucking cuck or whatever, that I don't do that. And I love one of my favorite movies is The Searchers. And that's about how John Wayne is racist. And it's like John Ford struggling with his own, like what he did making movies about how Native Americans are like savage peoples. You know, it's like him having that conflicting inner thought process. You can, but I also like leftist movies, like movies that are made with like a leftist point of view, and I don't like them because they have that point of view, you know?
Right.
And
yeah, no, I've said that before. Like I got a video from not too long ago, and it's literally like I say in the video that like it's not really wokeness, it's not SJWs, it's not agendas, it's not pandering, it's not any of the shit that they say. It is what it is that they fucking don't like is perspectives, because different perspectives allow people to empathize with those people of those perspectives. And you know, the more, you know, if you empathize with a fucking trans woman or something, man, the next thing you know, you're supporting trans rights and shit, and they can't be having that. You know, they don't want, they fucking, or they don't want it, or they, you know, insist that it shouldn't be a thing. So like that's what it's really about, is perspectives, and they fucking hate them. That's why this guy in this video is like, oh, don't put yourself in there, it's supposed to be. It's like that's not really happening to any fucking substantial degree anyway. Like he mentions Iron Man. I've been reading the Fall of Krakoa stuff, and Iron Man's all tied in there. He's fucking just Tony Stark, man. Like it's what is it? Jerry Duggan's writing.
He's not woke Tony Stark. It's not Jerry Duggan Tony Stark.
He's a fucking douchebag, and he's saying douchey shit and doing cool stuff with armor and whatnot. And it's like that's Iron Man. You know, I don't understand what you're talking about. But like speaking of this fucking dipshit that piece of shit that wrote that book. I don't know if you saw this, and this is just complete coincidence that I saw this yesterday, but like, I mean, ideally he wouldn't be doing this. He wouldn't have a job at all, but like,
I saw this, right.
What he's doing now.
He's doing the Blue Water Taylor Swift comics.
Yeah. It's an unauthorized look, and it looks just like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Too, you know,
famously huge bosomed Taylor Swift.
Right. Yeah. And
he did another one too, and it had like he did an Elon Musk action adventure sci-fi comic, and it had like a AI art cover even.
It's like
disgraceful shit, dude.
The more you think about this, the more fucking gross it is too, because like it's an unauthorized Taylor, so he's doing this without her consent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and that's just kind of fucking gross in context. But yeah,
you know, I don't want to get too deep into it, but you know, I genuinely don't like the guy, and I didn't know him before we were paired together when I made the when I made the book with him. It was just like
you don't sign on to something like that thinking somebody's going to be like this. Yeah.
No, and you know that ironically, the next book that I was going to do was Wildcats with Warren Ellis.
Oh fuck.
And so like I left that Bordertown. I left because I had found out about that stuff, and I didn't want to work with him, obviously. And my collaborator Tamara also walked off, and you know DC was extremely, you know, cool about it. When Wildcats happened, like honestly, there was a lot of like, you know, it was a mixture of me being a little depressed about what happened with Bordertown. It's kind of a mind fuck to get like the kind of book that you want to do. Like my brother has like characters I drew from Bordertown tattooed on his arm. And I'm like, you know, like it has that negative thing to it. Right. And so, no, see this person Stratton, I says, we were robbed of the Wildcats book thanks to him. No. It was because of me. Like I was a little depressed because of how much of a mind fuck that was. And then it was like, I'm drawing Wildcats, Jim Lee's Wildcats. This is like huge. So every page I was like trying to make it as good as I possibly could. And it was like, it was a lot of pressure, and I took so long that Warren Ellis was basically like, he thought that I didn't want to work with him and that I didn't like the script. And DC was kind of like, you know, if he feels that way, then you probably shouldn't be working on the book. Like, he kind of, I think he wanted me fired. I don't know for sure, but it was on me. It was my bad. However, if I would have kept doing it and that stuff came out, I would have left that book too, and that would have been a lot harder to do because it's Wildcats.
Right.
He's, you know what I mean? Like,
it was, man, that'd be like having to do 2 in a row like that. It was like,
it would have been,
dude.
Like, part of me is like, okay, that sucks really bad, but part of me felt like I kind of dodged a bullet. So it's funny, like in the aftermath of this stuff, people kept like trying to attack me by talking about Bordertown and Wildcats. Bordertown, I left. Wildcats, I dodged a bullet. Like I like, they only know the side of it that they want to say, which is like, haha, you took a L. And it's like, I guess if you consider that taking an L is like choosing to not work with a you know,
well, yeah, I mean,
sexual assaulter and then narrowly avoiding working with another one, you know,
they like, just like will grab at whatever they think they can hurt you with, man. It's like, it's ridiculous kind of shit that I get. So like,
but that's why, like, when I said like it didn't affect me, like I saw it and I was like, all right, you know, like, because I'm so secure with like I made the right decision. But it's a definitely, like, it's funny to be like having people sort of like try to attack you with these like little things like that, because like, you know, to me it was just like a weird year of my life. It to them it was like, look at this fucking idiot, you know what I mean? But luckily I've been working on a book that I'm very proud of now, and as far as I know, Matt Kint, solid guy.
You want to talk about that one some more or what?
Well, it's tough because like it's hard to get it. It's a bad idea book. So
okay,
if you want to go out of your way to hunt that down, I think that would be cool. I love that book. If you don't want to, I understand. No
give
big
us
deal.
Any leads on how to
like
hunt it
eBay
down.
Or something,
eBay.
like
Okay.
calling up a shop that maybe has it and like asking them if they could sell it to you. Dude, I don't know. Bad idea is really weird, but the it's sort of like there's good and bad with it, because the good part is they make a fucking great comic. Like, I mean, like the paper quality's good. I designed the front, the back. I did everything to make it look like, you know how earlier I said I would be embarrassed like riding on a bus with like the Supergirl, like Michael Turner cover. I would feel like a creep. Like, I intentionally want to make books that if you holding that on the bus, like you feel like, all right, I'm a cool person.
Proud of it. Yeah.
Like I look to like album covers, not like other comic covers, when I try to make comic covers, because I think there's a little bit of a like Ouroboros sort of like snaking in its own tail, like backwater sort of comics just are influenced by other comics, and so then they can't be progressive in any way.
Yeah, you got to reach outside the medium sometimes,
which is why my boy Noah Van Sciver is so good, because he doesn't do that. But no, like the They're All Terrible, what it's about is like really cool, and like, again, it's like I'm doing a story that I don't even know if, like, when I'm telling it as an artist, I try to do like a director, where it's like I'm just trying to tell this as effectively and efficiently as possible, and the message that the writer is giving, I'm trying to like also merge it with my sensibilities. And it's a fun push and pull when you collaborate with people like that. And so like that book, there's a lot of like, who deserves what in society, like who deserves to like live easy and who doesn't, and how are the people that want to fight to take back what they feel belongs to them, like, how they look. Are they the heroes? Are they the villains? And it's like to me it's a very interesting thing, but it's all done through like just people getting their fucking heads cut off and their stomachs ripped open and like organs flying out. It's like an extremely violent, fucked up comic, but like about material wealth. And
that's great. Yeah, I mean, anything
And,
that
you
can be
know,
like subversive, but also have like a really fucking, you know, just a potent message like that, or not message necessarily, but you know, subtext.
Right.
Then, I'm down.
Right. But that's what I was trying to say is like untangling the difference between that. Like people don't want to do that distinction of like when I watch an old movie and it's like clearly they're just trying to do something here. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like with comics, I feel like people don't engage with it. And as a comic book fan, what is it? What's your name?
My name?
An actual fan, you know?
Actual fandom, yeah.
As an actual fan, like it's a little annoying when people engage with comics as like, this isn't Iron Man. This is not how Iron Man's supposed to look. You know what I mean? Like I was there when he was like trying to get Hal Jordan back. You know, I remember those days, and I remember being on the DC message boards, being like, "Kyle's better." You know, like it was those were hectic days.
When I came into comics, Kyle was just starting out, so that was my Green Lantern. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it was mine too, because I remember I was walking home and I thought I went to a comic shop. And I thought, like, I didn't know anything about comics. I just wanted the coolest looking guy, and that was him. So
for sure,
that was my Green Lantern. Like, I would read the other ones, and I'm like, this guy doesn't look cool. Like, like, how come the other guy looks different? And then I would buy, you know, Emerald Twilight or a New Dawn Emerald Twilight, and I was like, this is the fucking coolest comic I've ever seen. You know, so like, yeah, but like that's how. But like, think about how funny it is that those identity politics about just like new heroes versus old heroes was going on back then, and people were being freaks about it back then, and now we're still doing it. Like it hasn't evolved, and like unless you make comics that are like Mouse or whatever, people don't even look at it like it's a story with like words that have symbolic meaning beyond just like on its face what it says, you know.
Yeah, like I mean,
I don't want to both sides it, but a little bit like some people alone on the left too, like people like friends of mine that I know will read it and just not engage with it the same way, you know?
Yep.
It's a shame.
We covered on my podcast not too long ago, we covered Secret Empire, dude, because like I actually fucking think there's a lot. It's definitely a flawed fucking event from Marvel, but like the core of Captain America being a fucking Hydra, you know what I mean? Like all that shit. I think it's fucking brilliant. I think it was saying something that, especially in hindsight, was, you know, should have been fucking listened to a little bit more. And people just were like, you know, got upset about it. Like,
do you know that Jose on here on YouTube? He makes like those videos. Like he did one about that. Yeah. And I haven't watched it yet.
He's the reason I didn't talk about it for years. I wanted to talk about it. I'm like, nah, Jose's already got a video.
He's already got the good video. Yeah.
No reason. Yeah. But finally,
shout out to Jose. I love those videos of his. I usually have those on when I'm working because they're so long that I'm like, oh, nice. It's like I can watch a TV show without watching a TV show.
At least they're not that new fucking H-Bomber guy video. Jesus Christ.
I watched that one too. Day one. I had to.
I've gotten like an hour into it and I'm just like, I gotta pause, man. This is too much plagiarism for me right now.
I do that, and then sometimes I'll watch sometimes I'll watch them in like 2x speed. I just get real into it. I'm a fiend for some of this shit, bro.
Fair enough. Because yeah, I mean,
when I'm working, I just want to have somebody talking. Sometimes, you know, like today I listen to like music, but usually it just needs somebody talking at me.
Well, since I got, you know, some of your folks are watching, I think let me promote my channel to them a little bit. By the way, like and subscribe, man. And you like internet trash? Look, I'm the internet trashiest, dude.
Shout out to my boy Para. This man's the real deal. He's one of my Letterboxd bros. Well, he listened to my podcast too, but he was one of my Letterboxd bros. And when his reviews come out, they're like super fucking long, super insightful. And he does what I'm talking about, where he'll watch a movie and talk about it as not just like, oh, Godzilla was cool. He'll like talk about the message of it. You know, just shout out to my guy's Letterboxd page. But you know, that's what gets me about media criticism at large. And you know, sometimes I feel a little like maybe as a creator people don't put that energy into it, so how can I demand that critics treat it that way?
True.
That's just like when I'm working, or like when I get annoyed at like a review that's literally just a recap of what happens in the book. I'm like, well, maybe look at the book. Like if people are making uninspired comics, then they're going to get uninspired criticism in return. And it's like a self-defeating cycle, but it makes comics worse at large. And I don't think that that the criticism coming from the right is it's dissecting comics in a way where they're engaging with the story, where they can like it if they don't even agree with it.
Absolutely not.
Whereas,
I mean, in a lot of cases, dude, honestly, in a lot of cases, they're not even consuming the media. Like me and Organized Chaos got into a debate. He had one scheduled, and I got pulled into it last minute, like a year ago. And there were these dudes that were defending against his video, calling, saying that Critical Drinker was a racist and said racist shit or whatever in his videos. And like they're like defending against it and stuff, and then come to find out after like an hour and a half of debating these dudes that one of them straight up said, I don't really watch the movies that we're talking about, I just watch the content, watch the fucking YouTube videos about it.
Right.
The other one was like the whole thing centered around this Star Wars tweet whenever Star Wars had come out in defense of Moses Ingram during the Obi-Wan show, and like said, hey, don't if you're being racist, don't be racist, is basically what Star Wars said. Right. And they're like, the Star Wars called the fans racist and shit. And it's like, no, man, that's not even what the tweet said. And they're like, yes, it is. And then they're like, well, we haven't seen the tweet. I don't know what it says, really. You know what I mean? Like, and this is just, it was a really fucking revealing moment to us, because it's like, I think this is more common than is probably, we're it's comfortable to think about, that a lot of people will just kind of watch these videos and just onboard these fucking takes as if that is the gospel, and they don't even watch the movies or read the comics or fucking that's why they still repeat Snowflake and Safe Space. You know what I mean? Like, I still get people like, oh yeah, what about Snowflake and Safe Space? What about them, man? They never fucking came out in a comic book ever. Like,
right, yeah.
Or
like I said, it would be cringe if it did, but he didn't even do that. So what's the difference?
Everybody rejected that shit. I don't think there was anybody that was like, yeah, I'm all about that Snowflake.
And if somebody had said, and if somebody like I had an honest critique of like a book that I did, I would be like, that's fascinating, and I would be interested in it. But usually it's not good faith, and it's not well, they don't make real criticism videos. They just say that I suck.
Yeah, man, I agree with this. Another one that I really have a fucking pet peeve about, that one day I'm going to do a big breakdown video about this stuff, is like that the MCU is fucking imperialist propaganda shit or whatever. And it's like, or they're fascist propaganda. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I honestly don't see it, because it really, what that comes off to me is like, they're mad that they're not like overthrowing the government, the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, if they're fighting against fucking space fascists and shit, like, they're not, it's like equating the Avengers to cops, I think is pretty fucking silly.
It depends on the context. I mean,
I'm sure there's probably in a long history, there's been examples where you can say that's a very cop-like thing, but generally, if they're reacting to some fucking super powered thing that literally nobody can fight against or whatever, that's trying to genocide humanity or whatever, you're gonna want the Avengers around.
Right.
So
yeah, no, like the like when I did my review for like Wonder Woman 84, whatever number it was like a bad movie.
It was
a bad movie for a number of reasons, and the reasons why the like right wing people would tell you were not the reasons why I had for it. You know what I mean? And like, did
they call that woke?
I think so, because, well, first of all, Maxwell Lord wasn't white, so that's woke, know. And
oh yeah, and I saw that they're whitewashing him now.
I didn't like that.
I saw your post.
I didn't like that they did it, especially for the guy from Gilmore Girls. That's not cool.
The guy, was he in Gilmore Girls?
He was like the town fool. He was the guy who everybody laughed at. Like, he was an idiot. That's what I know that dude from, mostly, is just Gilmore Girls.
I just know him from all the James Gunn movies,
Yeah, terrible movies, by the way.
Really?
You like those? You like Suicide Squad?
Are you kidding me? The Suicide Squad, the second one? Like, I fucking love that movie, man. I think it's great.
I like the first one better.
What?
I'm a huge David Ayer fan, because this man speaks to my people. Have you ever seen Harsh Times? With
no.
Christian Bale?
Nope.
He plays a down-ass white boy with like a Mexican accent. It's the sickest shit
man,
I've ever seen.
I'm really fascinated by like these very specific fucking just stark disagreements that we have on certain.
We have a lot, dude.
Fucking cool, man.
But like, again, even though we disagree, we can still be friends. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I don't agree with my brother, wanting to vote for Donald Trump, but I'll still hang out with him and watch the Niner game this weekend. I guarantee you we'll be hanging out. So like, that's the other thing is like, it is frustrating when these people like have such like they think that cancel culture only comes one way, when like it's obviously they were just like so willing to attack me for like the shit that they think about me rather than who I actually am. Like attack me for the totally normal things to be mad at me for, but just like the saying that I'm a hypocrite because I don't like fat phobic jokes after I made one, kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's
that's all, And Mark Millar, he blocked me for no reason. That's bullshit too. But yeah, I'm sure he has to keep his space safe too. His maybe he thought like the way I blocked EVS, like this will be hilarious. That would be cool.
Julie, I want to point out, because I see somebody agreeing with that too. It's like, you guys realize that like every Israeli over 18 has to become IDF for a while, right? Like it's just a thing. Right? I think that's the case, I believe.
No, it is. Well, it is that you can get arrested and like not, but
so I mean, saying you don't like an Israeli because they're IDF, the IDF is like saying I just don't like all the
right. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say
like,
that. No. But
kind of stay away from that.
But Gal Gadot does do some like sort of Zionist stuff, and it's like whatever.
Sure.
Like
sure.
She's a bad actress not because she's a Zionist. She's a bad actress because she fucking can't act, and everybody can see that.
That's the reason she should be fucking criticized. In first.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Like laugh at her for just being an incompetent actress, but remember when she goes, "Kala, no,
Kala, no," yeah,
iconic moment for her. Enough champagne to feel denial.
I mean, like when you think about the fact that she like around her in, let's say, like in the Justice League movie, she's several pretty good fucking solid actors. Ben Affleck's pretty good when he wants to be. You know what I mean? And like it's like she's still like they kind of had to carry her through a lot of scenes, and you know what I mean. Anyway, we're not.
Do you like this? Hold on, let's run through some of these movies and see which ones we agree on. Because now I'm fascinated. Snyder Cut.
I actually like it.
Me too. I love it. That's I thought it was way better than. Well, I didn't see the other one. I thought it was like it was way better than Superman versus Batman. And I thought it was better. It was like better than Man of Steel, but I thought it was like that was good. Batman vs Superman, whatever, not that great.
I need to watch it again because I've only watched it once.
I liked,
and like I feel like I went into it thinking this is going to be a fucking train wreck, and it was so much not a train wreck that I was like, oh god, wow, you know what I mean? Like the whole time, and I feel like maybe, yeah.
So I'm excited about his new one. This not Harvest Moon, whatever the new one is. I'm excited.
Rebel Moon, yeah.
I'll check it out.
He's just so weird. He makes some weird choices. Even whenever the movie is generally like something I kind of like, he'll make a weird couple of choices, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this about?" I don't know. But
let me hit you another one. Avatar: Way of Water.
I like that one a lot.
I loved it. It was like a 5 out of 5 for me.
Fucking loved it. Yeah.
What about the Avengers Endgame and what's the one? It was like 2-parter.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
So not too long ago, me and the other a couple of the guys in the initiative group that I got, we did a debate over the best superhero movie, and my pick was Avengers Endgame.
Oh wow, I didn't even see it because I thought the first Avengers was so bad that I'm not going back for more of this.
I don't even understand where you're coming from, man. Like
you like the first one?
The first one I did when it came out. Absolutely, I did, dude. I was waiting for that shit my entire fucking life, man. Like yeah. Of course,
I was waiting for Green Lantern to come out my entire life.
I would say that comparing the first Avengers movie to the Green Lantern movie is like, I don't know.
Hold on, you know what's crazy though is I went and saw that in theater day one with my friends, and it was like I walked out of there and I was like, you guys, that was a great movie, and they were like,
Green
Lantern, like, are you fucking kidding me?
I tried to delude myself at first about it.
I was like. Because what it is that it is a reflection of superhero movies and how to be like it's like almost like it's undercutting them because all the good guys are like dumb and willing to put aside their thoughts, and the intellectually curious are demonized and made to look like big pieces of shit, literally, in that movie.
That's
and
true.
I was like, so in a lot of ways, it's a subtle criticism of the superhero movie genre. And then they were like, the movie fucking sucked. I'm like, you know what? It's not good. It's not good, but I respect what they were going for. And then I was like, you know what? That movie just sucks. But I was waiting for it, and I deluded myself into thinking it was great.
Yeah,
let me give you another one.
That Phantom Menace moment, that, like with me whenever I first saw the Phantom Menace back in the day, like I left the theater like, oh my god, it's best Star Wars ever. You know what I mean? And then
that to me, what is the best Star Wars ever?
Wow.
Hold on, I still got the Pepsi cans to commemorate it. These are full. One time I was going to drink them on a thing because I knew I would like instantly vomit. I thought it would be like a hilarious bit to like poison myself, but I had to find 2 cans from 2001 that were still full. Very hard to do.
So I agree with that here, man. Like you're rad, dude. I hope to have you on again, man. But like these movie takes, I don't know, something it's kind of
Ramon
weird.
Seems like a cool dude, but his movie taste I really question. No. You're tripping. I'm a serious movie fan. Let me hit you know. Venom.
The first one. Yeah. I actually really I had fun with it. It was like nothing fucking, mind blowing or whatever, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
Hit me with I loved it.
Okay.
I thought the second one was slightly worse, but I liked it too.
I thought the second one was pretty substantially worse, I think, but that's me.
It was slightly worse, but it did have Joy Division at the end of it, so I like that. Let me hit you, and he's a Golden State Warriors fan in both of them, and I loved that. But let me hit you another one. Rank the Batman movies, the Nolan ones.
The Nolan ones. It's going to be, Batman Begins is number 1, and then the other was whatever.
Are you serious?
No. So like for a long time it would have been The Dark Knight, but as I've gotten older and stuff like that, and I look back at The Dark Knight, it's an experience kind of movie, and that's what Nolan's movies have turned into for the most part. Where it's like it's like holy fucking shit experience while you're watching it for the first time, but then afterward we start picking it apart, and it's like, wait, what? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. But like Batman Begins, man, just like straight up fucking, made me believe a dude could be Batman. I love it. I think it still holds up.
I thought the third one was the best.
Crazy.
Then the second half of the are you kidding?
This is getting stupid.
God, what happened there? You muted me?
No, I did it. I mean, it did a little drop.
Oh, I see. I was like, this motherfucker. No, the third one is the best. I love Bane. I love everything Bane stands for, except for when he tried to blow up the city. He was wrong at that point, but up until that point, I thought he was cooking.
I like most of the movie. It's got some glaring flaws, but I do for the most part appreciate it.
To me, it's the most operatic. It's the one that swells the most. It gets the biggest. And then the first movie, second, I like everything after he becomes Batman. I don't really care for everything before. And I love his costume in that one the most. And then the last one is The Dark Knight. For me.
Ramon's going to love Madam Web calling it now.
Hey, I love Sydney Sweeney, so we'll have to check that movie out.
We'll see. How about, all right, I got one for you. How about this? Here, I'll just play another drop here to get this one out here.
I love The Last Jedi.
Which was
I love The Last Jedi.
So I watched The Force Awakens and I thought, I don't like this, right? Then I saw the second one and I watched about 15 minutes of it and I said, I'm not watching this shit anymore. I don't even know what it's called. Is that the Skywalker one?
The Last
I don't
Jedi.
even know the names of them.
No, not the Rise of Sky. Fuck that movie. That movie is that's a whole other thing.
So the second one is one that you're saying. The Last Jedi is this.
Yes.
I watched 15 minutes of it and I said, I can't do this.
It's fucking lame, man.
But I'm not but here's the thing, is I'm not a Star Wars fan like that.
That's fine.
But I love Rogue One and I love Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And all the rest of them I don't really care about.
Look, I see you and I value you, man. Despite that.
What do you think about the Star Trek movies?
You mean like the
J.J. Abrams ones?
Into Darkness is a fucking shit show.
It's not good.
Mess of stupid shit. And like so 2009, the first one is fucking pretty good. I think it's a pretty solid ass movie. And then Beyond is also very good, very enjoyable movie.
Yep, we have the same opinion on Star Trek.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the same exact point of view on those. Let's see which other ones are there. Just so like the Marvel movies, that's like a big behemoth. Star Trek into dumbness. How dare you?
That's my podcast co-host from Sunday, my Sunday podcast. So
okay, shout out to him.
Talked about it quite a bit, but
let's see which other ones are there. Daredevil and like the pre-MCU movies are like my favorite ones.
Oh wow!
Like I love Ang Lee's Hulk. I love Daredevil. I'm okay with Spider-Man. I'm not a huge fan because I'm, whatever.
Are you just contrarian, man? Is that what's going on?
I'm not a contrarian. I have very specific tastes in movies.
Okay.
And I love the aesthetics of those of the Ang Lee Hulk because it's in San Francisco, and then Daredevil because it has all the Evanescence songs and all the cool ass music and badass red leather and flames, and it just looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking movie. Yeah, Ang Lee's Hulk gang rise up.
I got mad respect for Ang Lee's Hulk for what he was trying to do. He was trying to do like a pure merger of like comic book aesthetic and fucking film, right? Like he went for it, and respect for that. It just kind of didn't really work too well for me. Like at the same time, there's some great shit in there, like Nick Nolte, fucking great role.
The new Spider-Man movies, do you like those?
For the most part, I mean, they're enjoyable. They're not like the best Spider-Man movies, but like,
what are the best Spider-Man movies?
I like Tom Holland a lot as Spider-Man. The movies around him aren't necessarily like the best things, but yeah. So
I saw that first one in theater, and I thought this kid is good, and then the suit started talking to him, and I was like, oh god.
It's there's some choices made for sure, but like, let me ask you this one. Okay, so Punisher. All right, are you a Punisher fan at all? Do you have any appreciation for the Punisher?
I love like the idea of Punisher as like this Michael Mann. Like there's these two things that I really love of Punisher War Journal that Kevin Nolan did some that he like inked somebody and they look beautiful. They look like Michael Mann. And then there's another one, the Jim Lee, where he's like on the jet ski and he's out. I love that shit. So like I love the idea of Punisher. I don't think I've ever read a Punisher comic beyond those like handful that I love, except for Remenders. I liked his
Frankencastle
because it's Frankenstein. I like that.
All right, so like this is my opinion on the Punisher movies, right? Is that like there's the 2004 one with Thomas Jane, right? And then it's PG-13, and it's like really should be called The Prankster or something because he doesn't really like do any punishing. He just kind of like pulls some fucking pranks on people, on the mob or whatever. And then like there's the 2008 one, which was directed by what's her name, Lexi. I forget her fucking last name.
Alexander,
yes. And it's like super fucking violent and shit, and just like he punches through a dude's head at one point, just like punches through his face. If you take the characterization and the kind of the I guess the direction to some degree of the earlier one, the Thomas Jane one, and then you merge it with the fucking violence and just like the I don't give a fuck kind of vibes of the second one, that'd be like a perfect Punisher movie, I think.
Have you ever seen Death Wish 3? Now see, that is a Punisher movie.
Death Wish. I don't remember which ones I've seen though.
I love the Death Wish movies. I know I've said that before, but
are you dissing the popsicle scene, dude? Like, come on. No, that was pretty lame.
To be honest though, with the Punisher, I've never like I just don't have like I watched the first one and I remember thinking it's fun. I never watched the second one, but it was like it didn't leave a huge impact on me. Oh, but I love the Fantastic Four movies from that pre-MCU stuff too.
Fair enough. Okay, I got one for you right here.
You're a bad man. Scraping at the door. Scraping at the door. I'm gonna let him out. Why would he just take it so good?
No, and I wanted to because I like the idea of it and I like some of the visuals of it, but same. I don't like Nick Cage as like an actor. I think his head is weirdly shaped. Doesn't do much for me.
Man,
and I like The Rock, like not the person, the movie. So like I there are some Nick Cage things that like transcend my general distaste for his head.
Are you a horror fan? At all?
Yeah.
You see Mandy?
No, I didn't see that one.
See Mandy. I promise you, you will not fucking regret Mandy. Like, it is legit. I think Nick Cage's best performance, period. Other than The Rock, of course.
Wait,
But,
what are your favorite horror movies?
I mean, you know, I'm kind of standard on some of them. Like, The Thing is just, you know, The Thing, right? Like, it's right up there with just being kind of a masterpiece. And then, you know, I grew up watching, like, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff.
What do you think of the new Halloweens?
Okay, here we go. I think in 10, 15, 20 years, that trilogy is going to be fucking, you know, just, it's going to be revered. People are going to fucking see what they were fucking wrong about. I think
I revere it right now.
I revere it right now too, man. Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. And on that note,
the first one is great. The second one, a near masterpiece. The third one, a masterpiece.
Fuck yes. Thank you.
On that note, we can agree to agree.
Right here at 3
Beautiful.
hours. 3 hours on the
We
dot,
got
man.
to
We
it.
can call it right there. Dude, fuck yeah. I can't believe I found another one, guys. We found one.
And The Exorcist Believer rocks too.
Oh wow. Okay, I hadn't seen that one, so I was kind of just going with the consensus that I saw that it must be pretty bad. So
You can't trust the consensus because they're all gonna lie, dude. Just like they lied on my boy for the Halloween movies. But
well,
anyway, this has been a productive conversation.
Dude, this has been a blast. Had fun talking. We should do it again sometime, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to talk about anything you got going on or tell people where to find you or anything.
Yeah, at some point that would be cool.
I mean, you want to tell people where to find you now?
Right now you're saying that.
Social medias or anything? Like,
I'm on Twitter for some reason. Ramon Villalobos on there, Ramon Villalobos on BlueSky, Ramon Villalobos on Threads probably. I'm on Instagram, the Ramon Villalobos. My podcast is Mex Fantayo. If you haven't listened to it, I got news for you. There's a lot of new episodes. If you have listened to it, there's none. And then my books, if you want to look at the old ones, you can find them, I'm sure, in fine 25-cent bins all around the country.
You can get E is for Extinction. Look, I would never fucking encourage you to ever get Amazon Prime shit or nothing like that, but if you happen to already have that shit, you can get E is for Extinction for like $2 right now.
Really?
And it's it's fun little I mean, like the whole trade, like the whole little story is like $2 and something on there right now.
That's crazy as fuck. One time I went to a con and I wanted to have some of those, so I bought like a bunch when they were on sale. And then like at the end of the con, I didn't sell that many, so I was like walking around just like, you want one of these? I do not want to carry these home.
Yeah, but read some of the shit, man. It's fun. Is America.
Shout out to Strattonite. This motherfucker's a genius. They were always given the hot information. Is Strattonite someone I know, or is that someone you know?
I've never seen him before, as far as
that's probably my boy Salt.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I got
smart as hell.
I got Wolverine is Gay coming here to close out the show, so you guys will get to listen to that, and then please subscribe and like and everything. Have a lovely weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other, and peace and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Skyver told me, I'm glad that he did. Did he simply predict it, or will it into existence? Wolverine is gay. Yellow tights should have given him away. Wolverine is gay. Yeah, and that's okay. X-Men, but it's perfectly healthy and cool, man. For X-Men to have sex with other X-Men. Those sexy X-Men. Wolverine is gay. Yellow Tights should have given him away. Wolverine is gay. That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Let me tell you why. He's the best there is. And what he does. And what he does. It's fucking fabulous. That's okay. Wolverine is gay. On the moon with Cyclops. Just you extra gay.